Hello to all fans of Naruto Lemon, Yaoi, or Yuri content. I invite you all to my Boosty channel. My first video with a full lemon has already been uploaded to Boosty. Good luck!
お前はどこまで見えている。俺の死に様か。
I asked a mental question to my Bija Naruto. I don't know, but I don't feel anything from her except excitement and fear. This means that she is not planning anything and is not hiding anything at the moment. But Naruto, I don't understand human relationships, but as long as I remember your mother, in both worlds, Kushina always loved her family. Maybe she's trying to make contact or something. Anyway, be careful. When have I not been careful? Can you remember all the cases? Kurama snorted. Although, I must admit, since you became an Umbu captain, you have more brains. However, this does not change the fact that sometimes you simply take unnecessary risks. Flea-haired red. My fur is crystal clear, you brainless creature, but after your interaction with the Inuzuka dogs, I wouldn't be so sure about your hair. I need to wash myself. Repeatedly. How's the team? Kushina turned to her again when Naruto finished her mental dialogue with the fox. And I also decided for myself that it was better to get out of here for now. After all, you never know what you can expect from a mother. Good, Kaa-chan. Even though Uzumaki wanted to change her family's attitude towards herself, she didn't think that progress would be so fast. Although more than 3 months have already passed of her being here, this is still too short a time. She is not yet ready to have longer dialogues with her mother. Therefore, having said these words, Naruto walked into her room, where she immediately collapsed on the bed. There are still a few hours before training with Itachi, and you can rest. Naruto, you're late. Sasuke notified her when Uzumaki came to the training ground. She immediately put up a barrier and only then paid attention to the brothers who were sitting under the tree. Itachi was reading the scroll, but as soon as Naruto appeared in his field of vision, he smiled his smile, soft and gentle. Sasuke defiantly flashed his black little eyes, in which they danced. No, demons. Apparently, he was looking forward to sparring with his older brother. Sorry, I overslept. With Itachi and Sasuke, she could really relax and let herself go a little. The elder Uchiha became quite close to her, a friend and comrade who was really able to earn her trust. And there were very few people in this world whom she could trust. More precisely, just one. This is Sasuke. Well, and Kurama, but he's not entirely human. Recently, Itachi has been one of these people. But it doesn't matter, you need to be careful with him. After all, he is not considered a genius because of his pretty eyes and fire jutsu. His unconventional mind, his thinking and knowledge were truly amazing. And he can easily expose Naruto if she is not careful about her words or actions. How she would like to completely let herself go in the company of these two, but she can't shed the image right away. Nothing, Naruto. We also just arrived. Itachi said and stood up from his seat. Well, I'll tell you frankly. I'm glad your sensei spoke so highly of you. Still, our training was not in vain. But I would personally like to see your success. That's why we'll do some sparring today. At first, I wanted to do it with each of you separately, but then I decided that it would be better if you two attacked me. I want to see your teamwork. Fine. The genin said synchronously. Itachi nodded in satisfaction. Let's start. Opponents stood in the center of the training ground. Itachi on one side, and Naruto and Sasuke on the other. The latter immediately activated his Sharingan. The Jounin was the first to attack, launching kunai with explosive seals at the teenagers. They deftly dodged and ran in different directions. The genin attacked him with a fireball from both sides, but the Uchiha flickered behind Naruto. She instantly turned around and immediately became involved with the genius in taijutsu. He dodged the attacks and blows with his usual grace, until Naruto dodged and, jumping up, kicked him in the stomach. Next, fire techniques rained down on Itachi from Sasuke, who had been waiting for the moment until then. Naruto jumped to the side, giving more space for the brothers to fight, trying to catch her breath and covering her best friend's back. They clashed in taijutsu, but after a few minutes the youngest of the Uchihas jumped to the side and breathed out a fiery dragon, which flew straight at the genius of the clan. He dodged away from the attack, launching an even larger dragon at his ototo. Naruto arrived in time and, by putting up a powerful wall with the help of Fuinjutsu, which reflected Itachi's attack back to him, saved Sasuke from having to use the replacement technique. This technique is good because it reflects the attack back, but with even greater speed and increasing in size and power. True, all this depends on the amount of chakra invested in the technique itself. The more chakra invested, the stronger the technique becomes. This is its minus, which plays a very important role. But Naruto put in just a little chakra. She needed to buy time to get Sasuke out of the line of fire. The 2 seconds that Itachi spent escaping from under his own technique were quite enough to jump with the Uchiha several meters back. The elder Uchiha was once again amazed at the power and strength of Fuinjutsu. It seems like just a few seals, but such a powerful technique. Of course, the strength of the wall that Naruto put up was quite small, but for her age, the girl is simply masterful in the art of seals. In the future, she can become a Fuinjutsu master. Sasuke, as soon as he and his friend escaped from the attack, began to put together seals for the next fire technique to attack his brother. Naruto, knowing the seals that the Uchiha made, began to make others for the element of wind. When Sasuke blew out a stream of fire, Uzumaki sent a stream of air in parallel. The two techniques intertwined, creating a destructive stream of fire. Itachi had no choice but to move with the flickering. He moved behind his students again and put a kunai to their throats. However, these turned out to be clones, which immediately dispersed, and the originals appeared on top. But Naruto and Sasuke made a huge mistake, which should not be made in a battle against the Uchiha clan. They looked into his eyes. Itachi, instantly activating his dojutsu, caught both of them in genjutsu at once. When Naruto and Sasuke were able to escape from the illusory world, a kunai was pointed at their throats, which automatically counted as a loss. But we must pay tribute, they quickly realized that this was a genjutsu, so by changing the flow of chakra in their body, they reset the effect of the Sharingan. But even such a delay would be enough to kill in a real battle. "Well, I'm pleased with you," Itachi said as they sat down in the clearing. The children were tired and out of breath, but terribly happy, and the eldest of them sat as if nothing had happened. Of course, they still have to learn and learn. Firstly, each of you was able to hold out against me in pure taijutsu for several minutes, which is undoubtedly good. Secondly, I was pleased with your teamwork. You covered each other's backs, saving your partner from my attacks. You used joint techniques without saying a word to each other. Thirdly, your techniques have become significantly more powerful and destructive. He pointed to the center of the landfill, where there were burnt areas everywhere. Sasuke, you have excellent command of the Sharingan, but it is not yet developed enough. I think that the third Tomo will awaken soon, and then I will show you a special training, thanks to which I myself developed my Sharingan to the level at which it is now. Naruto, your seal art truly amazes me. This can become your trump card if you work hard at it. What about our mistakes, Anai-san? They were, I'm sure. Sasuke asked his brother. Otudo, if you always dwell on your mistakes, then nothing good will come of it. The elder Uchiha said instructively. Naruto, what do you say? We are using chakra incorrectly. After thinking a little, Uzumaki said. Itachi nodded in satisfaction. Exactly, Naruto. This is your main problem. But I saw a few more. For the next few hours, the teenagers discussed the results of the battle, their mistakes, each person's strengths and weaknesses. And the fight was really worthwhile. Naruto, you know you can trust me, right? Itachi asked when they were alone, causing the aforementioned one to flinch and look at the Uchiha in surprise. This happened 3 weeks after that fight. In the evening, after the next D-rank missions, Naruto and Sasuke went to their favorite training ground, where Itachi was already waiting for them. The eldest brother was just writing a report on his recent mission when the genin approached. They were ready to start training, but were unable to, as the stomachs of Sasuke and Naruto emitted the pitiful cries of a dying whale, causing the former to snort in displeasure and the girl to blush a little. And, through heated debates and convincing arguments, Uchiha Jr., with a dissatisfied expression and grumbling, went to buy food for his loved ones, starving people. After all, Itachi also hadn't eaten anything since the morning, completely immersed in work. During this time, the relationship between the three became even closer than it had been before. Naruto could now smile and laugh calmly in Itachi's company. She gradually opened up to him on the other side, completely opening up and letting herself go. Of course, at certain moments I had to keep my mask on, but this happened less and less. Itachi was able to penetrate her heart and soul as a close and dear person. They could calmly discuss various topics that did not concern their families, and Naruto could argue with him. True, Uzumaki always and unquestioningly listened to his comments on training, his advice, and always accepted help. Sasuke became more and more close to his older brother. And now they really looked like a family. It was as if we had returned to the time when they were dearest to each other. Over time, Sasuke began calling Itachi Aniki, which brought them even closer. You should have seen the elder's face when this appeal was first heard from the lips of the younger brother. "Are you against it, Itachi and Sasuke asked then, seeing his brother's surprised face. "No, Otuto, I don't mind." Then Aniki smiled softly and flicked the younger one on the forehead, to which he heard a loud snort. When Itachi was left alone with Naruto, he decided to talk to her frankly, seeing that she was still a little constrained in communicating with him. Someday this conversation had to take place between them, and apparently the time has come. "Why such questions, Itachi?" she asked instead of answering. The girl settled down under a tree near her mentor and closed her eyes. "I just want to know." Naruto literally felt Itachi's burning gaze on her. "How do you feel, Kurama?" she asked her bijou. Obvious curiosity and some other mixture of emotions, but definitely nothing bad towards you. "Thank you." The fox growled something about the Jinchuriki, that he does not appreciate or respect the great and powerful Ninetales, since he is already contacting the second Uchiha in a row. "I trust you." Naruto nodded without opening her eyes. "You can tell me everything that worries you," Itachi simply added, and the girl felt a strange and inexplicable warmth inside. "I know, but," Uzumaki fell silent meaningfully. "Understand." Itachi nodded, although Naruto did not see it. "I'll tell you someday, Itachi. Give me some time, okay? You and Sasuke are the only people I could open up to. With you I feel free and alive." The Jinchuriki didn't lie a word, which made his interlocutor smile. In such a short time, Naruto had penetrated his heart and soul. She was special. At first she seemed strange, unsociable and not sociable, but over time the girl revealed new sides and surprised Itachi every time. Naruto turned out to be a very cheerful, kind and positive child. And the Uchiha understood why his younger brother was so drawn to this girl. I really understood and began to reach out myself. Sometimes on missions I really missed her smile and laughter, talking with her, watching her train. Also missing was Sasuke with his sarcasm, causticity, and serious face. Thanks to these two children, Itachi felt life. "I'll give you as much time as you need." He heard a quiet "thank you" in response when Sasuke arrived with food. "Your dango, Aniki." He gave a small box to his brother. "Your ramen." "The next box is for Naruto." "And my salad." "With tomatoes?" Itachi and Naruto asked at the same time, to which the lover of red vegetables only snorted and, like a hamster, began to stuff his cheeks with salad, which still contained more tomatoes than other products. Itachi's quiet laughter and Naruto's loud one made Sasuke smile, but his stuffed cheeks prevented him from showing that same smile. Naruto quietly entered the house, where again the oppressive atmosphere immediately fell on her. Still, she could not be in such an environment, and even a soulful evening in the company of friends could not help her cope with it. Sighing heavily, Naruto walked into the living room where all her relatives were sitting. Seeing her brother, who had been missing for 3 weeks, she quietly examined him for injuries and, finding none, calmed down. Akira gives her mixed feelings. During the entire time she had been here, they had not spoken a word, but he evoked warm feelings in her. Naruto truly perceived him as a brother, so she was a little worried about his long absence. And I hoped that he wouldn't get hurt on this mission. Uzumaki worried about him the same way she worried about Itachi when he went on missions. And her brother did not show obvious hatred or contempt for her. Kurama felt a little fear in him, but no hatred, unlike Minato. If we talk about the Hokage, then everything is several times more complicated than it seems at first glance. In childhood, when Naruto was little, her relationship with her father was not good, but neutral. Minato never showed affection or attention to her, only a certain wariness. But Naruto still grew up as a sunny child, because her mother and brother were nearby. And then the fox wanted to escape and everything went downhill. The father finally lost interest in his daughter, directing all his contempt and hatred towards her. The brother stopped communicating with her, and the mother ignored the child. What happened then, Naruto could not understand, but in one moment everything changed in her life. She became withdrawn from the world and literally hid in a corner. The betrayal of the entire family was a blow to the psyche of the young Jinchuriki. "Good evening," Naruto said quietly, but this time without lowering her head. She looked at her family and their expressions. "Good, Naruto." The mother nodded to her. "Welcome back, Nai-san," Naruto said before turning around and walking to her room. Walking in and sitting on the bed, the girl channeled Fox's chakra into her ears to improve her hearing and listen to the family's conversations. More recently, Kurama allowed her to use her chakra in small quantities so as not to tear her chakra channels. Although the girl was a Jinchuriki from early childhood, after the fox tried to escape, the very structure of the channels was damaged due to a sharp release of negative chakra, so Kurama spent a long time restoring them. "She has changed." Naruto heard her brother's words. "She became a genin, began going on missions. Possibly communicating with the team." "Naruto doesn't talk to me," Kaa-chan answered him, causing the aforementioned one to snort. "Kakashi speaks well of her." Minato inserted his word in such a cold tone that you involuntarily begin to curse yourself for being born at all. "Yes, and she has no problems in the team. It's right that you put her with Hataka and the Uchiha," Kushina said quietly. "You never know, they can handle it." "That's exactly what I was counting on," Minato said, and then some kind of roar was heard. Apparently they went to the kitchen. Kurama growled in his head, who with all his heart, despite her absence, began to hate the father of his Jinchuriki. "I'll kill. I will change everything," Naruto promised herself. "Minato, I heard that your daughter became a genin." Danzo burst into the office of the Hokage. The elder never showed respect for the fourth, sometimes he did not hesitate to be familiar with him in the presence of his subordinates, and express his opinion extremely harshly, belittling Namake's merits. Shimura Danzo spent his whole life aiming to become the ruler of Konoha, but each time his wishes were not fulfilled. He created the Umbu root, which reported to him personally, in retaliation for Hiruzen Sarutobi's appointment as third Hokage. The people working for him were killing machines, because they had no emotions or feelings. The training of root members took place according to a special program developed personally by Danzo, so everyone who came to him lost, one might say, themselves. Shimura was also skilled with seals. That is why each subordinate has a seal with which he limited and controlled them. She did not allow anyone to say anything about the Umbu route and paralyzed if anyone said anything indirectly related to this unit. These people were Danzo's devoted dogs and were ready to give their lives for him, like Umbu for the Hokage. There were many rumors about the elder in the village, but none of them could be proven. For example, a rumor about his intention to destroy the Uchiha clan, to cut it out completely. When Fugaku Uchiha wanted to start a civil war in Konoha, Danzo found an executioner to carry out his plan, but in time Minato found out about his plan and intervened, thereby resolving the conflict between the head of the clan and the Leaf Village. And if it had been possible to prove Shimura's involvement in this conflict, he would have been hanged long ago for treason against the village. But, as unfortunate as it is, Danzo does everything clean and destroys all evidence. And no matter what rumors there are, and there are a lot of them, there is no way to get this old man out of the way. Legal method. Danzo, how many times have I told you not to break into my office? Minato asked in a cold tone. I am Hokage, please show respect. This phrase has already been said 1,000 times by Namikaze in relation to the elder, but he ignores everything. Your daughter is the weapon of the village, Namikaze, you should have given her to me. I will not give the Jinchuriki to your root. It is unknown what you will teach her there. Am I a fool in your opinion to put such a powerful weapon into your hands? Minato said dismissively. Let her become a loyal shinobi, and protect Konoha as she pleases. You're making a huge mistake. This girl is dangerous. The most powerful tailed beast is sealed within it. She needs some control. She's under this control, Shimura, and don't you dare tell me how to do my job. Minato snorted, already a little furious. You will pay for your recklessness, Namikaze. Minato raised his head and looked straight into his eyes. Is this a threat, Danzo? This is a statement of fact. The elder spat in response and left, loudly slamming the door. Yes, as much as possible. Sakura couldn't stand it after 2 months of suffering on rank D missions. During this time they visited everywhere, in the garden, in the sewers, in the basements, and in the library, sorting books by year of writing, although half of them did not have the same year was even written. They walked dogs, caught mice, rats, and Tora. This creature of the underworld has not changed even in this world. It scratched all the members of Team Number 7, except Kakashi, and then just jumped into Naruto's arms, saying, I'm tired, take me home. Uzumaki then almost planted a Rasengan into her. Naruto mastered this technique only 2 weeks ago, after a month and a half of training. Kami, how happy Uzumaki was when this blue sphere finally appeared on her hand. For her sake. Of course, it was created with the help of a clone, but, in the end, there is still more to come. Soon she will be able to create Rasengan with one hand. Sasuke, when Naruto showed him her favorite technique, seriously feared for his life, because this girl was jumping all over the training ground, breaking through all the trees around her and not noticing anyone. Even Kurama sympathized with the red-eyed man. Recently, the Uchiha himself asked Kakashi to teach him Chidori, so that his knowledge of this technique would not be suspicious. And with the wording, teach me a strong technique of the lightning element, he began to blow the minds of the teacher with his usual obstinacy. At first, Hatake resisted, saying that you are not ready yet, but even the great and powerful Copy One could not resist the enthusiasm of the young shinobi, which Guy himself would have envied. Even if he expressed himself in the same Uchiha manner. A terrible sight, I must say. So Kakashi surrendered to Sasuke's mercy 2 weeks later. And a month later, the Uchiha could boast of Chidori. True, after each training session with a student, the sensei's only open eye twitched nervously. But that's not that important, is it? Sakura, missions, the teacher began his organ as they walked to the Hokage for the next task. D rank improves your teamwork, as well as your patience and endurance. The 3 genin finished for him, surprisingly synchronously. Kakashi looked in surprise at the students who stood in place and glared at him. Even Naruto, this quiet and calm girl, was now looking at the teacher with pursed lips and a serious look, albeit a little timid. Still, as Hatake decided to himself, she had changed during this time. Now it's not uncommon to hear her tiny voice and quiet laugh. If Sasuke and Kurama heard his thoughts, they would begin to convulse at this sentence when someone from her team makes her laugh with their actions, although at the beginning of all this she was constantly silent and walked with her head down. And the team itself has become more united than it was after graduating from the academy. One time Kakashi even saw them sitting in Ichiraku after a mission and talking. More precisely, Sakura was talking, Naruto and Sasuke occasionally inserted a word into her speech. And it was surprising that they dragged Namikaze there. Looking at the blonde then, Kakashi saw that she was awkward and uncomfortable, but she was sitting with her team, and this is clear progress. Sakura, of course, did not run after the Uchiha less, but she moderated her ardor and bothers him less and less. On Kakashi's advice, she signed up for ironing courses and goes to special training 3 times a week. And, I must say, she is having success. Sasuke now began to help his teammates. Even though they are kunoichi, they are still girls, therefore, despite their pride, they take on all the difficult work themselves. Unconsciously, he tries to protect the members of his team, which is already surprising for Kakashi. When they first started working, everyone was, so to speak, on their own, but now Naruto and Sakura help each other, and Sasuke protects them. For Hatake, this was as pleasant as it was surprising. Still, he got an unusual team. "Are you still?" the copy one began again, but was stopped by Sakura. "Are not ready to carry out missions of a higher rank. Am I so predictable?" Kakashi asked a question, to which he was awarded 3 nods. "I don't know if the Hokage will allow it. You need to ask him." Turning around, he again went to his teacher's office. The disciples followed him and at the very door said, "So ask." And again in sync, "Kami, give me strength." "Hokage-sama, the 7th team has arrived to receive a mission," Kakashi reported, entering the office. Minato looked around everyone and everything with a frown, said something to the Chunin standing next to him and looked again at the team. Naruto noted that there was a black aura hovering over her father, wishing death for everyone in this office, in this village, in this world. And she was terribly interested in who brought the highly respected Hokage to such a state. "Your mission, exterminating cockroaches and washing windows," he said gloomily, seeing the expression of universal horror on the children's faces. At least on Sakura's face for sure, but Naruto and Sasuke flinched at the same time, and that was all. Yes, a couple of times they have already exterminated these many-legged nasty creatures who were not afraid to get under the collar of each of them. For a long time Naruto could not get rid of the feeling of the presence of these insects under her clothes. "Hokage-sama, my team is ready for a rank C mission," Hatake informed him, causing Minato to sigh and look at his student in surprise. "My students have already gained experience and patience, so, as a mentor, I can say that they are ready." "Are you absolutely sure about each student, Kakashi?" Naruto couldn't let the obvious hint about herself go unnoticed. She mentally chuckled, but on the outside she remained completely unperturbed. "Yes," Hatake answered briefly. "I give you a mission of rank C escorting a bridge builder to the country of waves." Even though Naruto and Sasuke knew that their first mission would be like this, they still shuddered from the rushing memories of their first serious mission, their first fight and their first opponent. "So, Kurama? It seems to be starting." "Kakashi." They called him in a female voice as he walked along one of the streets of Konoha to his wife in the hospital, to see her before the mission and say goodbye. Turning towards the speaker, Hatake saw his sensei's wife, who was also apparently coming from the store. She had several bags in her hands, which she carried with incredible ease. He was always amazed by this woman. "And sometimes I was afraid." One day he witnessed how his respected teacher, one of the strongest ninja of Konoha, the 4th Hokage of Hidden in the Leaves village, Yellow Lightning, sweated and stuttered in the presence of this sweet woman who showed up at his residence with a frying pan. This happened after Minato, being too busy, missed dinner with his family. Kakashi was present in the office, or rather, he tried to blend into the wall so that the bloody habanero would not notice him. And this, thank all Bijus, did not happen, since the woman was completely absorbed in scolding her unlucky husband. Hataki was then even surprised how a pregnant woman could move so fast. And what a terrible CI emanated from her. That's why Kakashi tried never to anger his sensei's wife, and he was never late for dinner again. "Hello, Kushina-san." He nodded to her in greeting. He didn't even offer to help deliver the packages, because she would then stir up such a scandal. "You see, I'm not weak, you don't need to help me, Tebane. We know, we've already passed." "Are you going to Rin?" she asked with a smile. "Yes. I want to see her before the mission." The copy one answered her warmly. "Are you being sent on a mission? For how long?" "My whole team. We're going to the land of waves, so I think for a few weeks for sure." He noticed out of the corner of his eye how Kushina drooped. And he became interested in the reason for this, because as long as he knew her, this woman always found positivity in everything and never lost heart. "What is it, Kushina-san?" "It's okay, Kakashi, everything's fine." The fourth's wife smiled tensely. "I must go home. I was glad to see you." And she walked away in the other direction, and the Jounin didn't even have time to answer her. This woman is very strange. Itachi walked through the crowded streets of Konoha, thinking about what the fourth Hokage had just told him. Minato personally praised him for his recently completed mission to obtain important information. Namikaze said that he really appreciated such a loyal shinobi. And this is exactly what his father wanted, because Itachi is the future head of the clan. He must be valued and respected in the village so that he can become a worthy successor. From childhood, the young genius was prepared for the fact that one day he would take his father's place of honor. In this regard, he was taught etiquette, politeness, and the rules of decency were instilled in him. And later Fugaku began to give him instructions so that he would delve into the affairs of his clan and be ready for anything. On this basis, they quarreled with Sasuke and moved away from each other. Itachi had tough training, sometimes life-threatening, a lot of teachers, and not a single friend. And the Uchiha himself did not strive to find at least someone to communicate with, because he was stifled by responsibility to the clan, his family, and his father. He had to live up to his hopes and become a truly strong and worthy successor. And then Shursui, his first and only friend, appeared. He found him at the clan's training ground when Itachi was practicing fire techniques. Shursui was several years older than him, but they found a common language and began to train together. One day the elder told him that you can be very strong, Itachi, but if you don't have someone who can support and understand in difficult times, someone for whom you will fight for life, who will make you live, then you'll just lose yourself. "I have a clan." He then answered his friend. "Itachi, the clan will never be able to support you the way one person close to you can. You will fight for the clan, but you will never live for the clan." And there the conversation ended, leaving an unpleasant aftertaste in the soul of the youngest of them. And just 6 months ago, Itachi came across his brother and a vaguely familiar girl at one of the training grounds. Taking a closer look, he, not without surprise, recognized her as the daughter of the fourth Hokage, the Jinchuriki of the nine-tailed fox. It was really unexpected. The Uchiha decided to approach them and find out what was actually happening. His little brother looked cold and distant, and he looked like he was looking at a small version of himself. Itachi was like that too. But he managed to break through his brother's mask when he offered to train him with Naruto. This is how the new story of his life began. Namikaze was reserved and not talkative, which was completely incompatible with her appearance. A blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl in an orange suit seemed to be supposed to radiate warmth and joy, but Itachi saw only sadness and loneliness. During training, she was collected and obedient. And the Uchiha wanted to see this girl smile. He promised himself that Naruto would smile. And so, a few months later, Itachi saw her smile, a little timid, but so bright that you involuntarily begin to smile. Naruto gradually changed, opening up to him more and more, and now he could call her a friend, a person close to him. And Ototo was also nearby. He also began to trust him and get closer to him. And Itachi realized that he had found those people for whom he would live. And now this gratitude from the Hokage completely unsettled him. Is he worthy of her? Does he really benefit the village? Aniki. He heard his brother's voice through the veil of thoughts. Sasuke stood in front of him along with Naruto, which was already surprising. Still, she didn't often appear on the busy streets of Konoha. Hello, Otuto. Hello Naruto-chan. He still remembered her request not to reveal their close acquaintance, so he addressed her in accordance with the rules of decency. Hello, Itachi-san. Naruto's eyes flashed unkindly from such an address to her, but what can you do? Hello. Sasuke echoed her. Meet me at the training ground in half an hour. He said quietly so that no one would hear. Naruto, Otuto. He called his charges when he came to the training ground. The first, as soon as Itachi came closer, put up a sound barrier so that no one would hear, and then smiled warmly at her friend. Itachi, she said. We have little time. We're leaving on a mission in an hour. Sensei persuaded my father, and he gave us a higher rank mission. You were given a C rank mission? Itachi was surprised. So that Hatake could do something for his team? The Uchiha still remembers how Sasuke spoke about their sensei, who does not want to teach him the lightning technique. How long are you leaving? Kakashi-sensei said for a few weeks. Ototo answered. Why were you so thoughtful on the street? I immediately changed the subject to Sasuke. Something happened? What makes you think, Sasuke? The eldest of the trio frowned, for which he received angry glances from his charges. Itachi always keeps his face, couldn't he really hold back his emotions behind his thoughts? You only noticed us after we called you, and now you gave yourself away when you frowned. Naruto snorted. Tell me, Itachi. We can't leave knowing something is bothering you. Sasuke just nodded in confirmation of his friend's words. Uchiha Sr. was once again amazed by these children. They seem to be not yet fully accomplished shinobi, but at the right moments they can be so serious that experienced jounin would be jealous. There's a sound barrier here, so they won't hear you even if they want to. It can only be removed by members of the Uzumaki clan. The Hokage called me and personally thanked me for the recently completed mission. He posted, and Naruto and Sasuke froze with their mouths open. It was unexpected. And what upset you so much? The teenagers asked in unison. Now it's the jounin's turn to be surprised. You do not understand. He made me stand out from the rest. This means that I will be given more complex, more responsible missions. I may be gone for months. It's hard. Itachi explained to the teenagers, but they only nodded. I'm thinking, maybe I'm not worthy of this? Kami, this is the first time in my life. We understand, but you deserve it. Ototo said seriously. You are a very strong shinobi, you are the genius of the clan, after all. And the father will be pleased with this arrangement. Don't worry about us, we can handle it. And you can handle it. You've been training us for 6 months now, and we've learned a lot, but it's time for you to move on. You, more than anyone else, deserve this. Naruto walked up to him with a smile and looked up to him, since she didn't even reach his shoulders. Why are all the Uchihas so tall, Databeo? Sasuke and I will support you. And we'll be close, okay? Itachi squatted down and, succumbing to emotions, hugged the girl. She shuddered slightly, but then laid her head on his shoulder and smiled warmly. Sasuke also came closer to his brother and hugged him. And Itachi smiled, because he was happy. People dear to him were with him, and his father would be pleased. He never thought that these teenagers would understand him and stay by his side. Still, they are still children, even though they are shinobi. Life is definitely getting better. Thank you for everything, Itachi. She whispered in Naruto's ear so that only he could hear. Itachi, hi. Akira exclaimed cheerfully when he saw his friend. He was just leaving the Hokage, having taken on a new mission. He also recalled how several years ago he was offered to join the Umbu Hokage, but he, Itachi, did not pass a certain test. Then he began to curse himself and train even more diligently. And now I was even glad about it. Joining the ranks of the Umbu meant that a shinobi was part of the Kage's inner circle. He becomes the one the Kage trusts with his life and the secrets of the village, knowing that this shinobi only serves for the good of the village. Not every shinobi will receive such an honor. Upon joining their ranks, a shinobi undergoes special training and psychological tests of various levels. The activities they carry out to protect the village from exceptional threats include confronting particularly dangerous ninja, tracking, surveillance, interrogating enemy shinobi for information, requiring specially trained ninja. Due to the nature of their work, some Umbu members became cruel and cold-blooded. In addition, due to the nature of the body and to prevent enemy shinobi from obtaining secret information, Umbu destroy their bodies if captured. To join the Umbu, you need to have special skills and qualities that are highly valued. Sometimes especially strong students of the academy join the Umbu. Having joined their ranks, they undergo training consisting of the study of the human body, various poisons, lessons in concealing their identity, and also begin to wear masks and use code names. What would he be like if he joined the Umbu? Hello. He nodded to the approaching Namikaze. Long time no see. Either you disappear somewhere, or I disappear. There is absolutely no time. Akira sighed sadly and ran his hand through his red hair, like Kushina's. How is Sasuke? I haven't seen him for a long time either. He and his team went on a mission a few days ago. Didn't you know? Itachi was surprised. Akira looked no less surprised than the Uchiha. No, Namikaze said. I knew that your family relations were tense, it came to Itachi. But have you really neglected Naruto to such an extent that you didn't even notice her absence? He asked a little sharply and, seeing that his friend wanted to say something, added, I don't know what you were trying to achieve. I advise you, Akira, to pay attention to your sister. Our younger brothers and sisters are the ones who will always support and understand us, no matter what the age difference. Do you know how nice it is when your brother or sister hugs you? How long have you been interested in Naruto's progress or how her day went? Is Sasuke really like that? Is there really such mutual understanding between you as you say? Akira asked angrily, however admitting his guilt. No, there is no complete mutual understanding between us, but I am confident in my brother. Sasuke is my support, can you say that about Naruto? Itachi asked too calmly, literally boiling over from such an attitude towards his ward. She's still a genin. How can she be someone's support? Namikaze asked, dumbfounded. Sasuke is also a genin, but I know that he will not leave me, no matter how weak he is. Itachi understood that Naruto would never leave her brother either, but he had to put his brains in place. You don't know who she is. Believe me, Akira, I know who she is. I know who is sitting in it. But does this define her as a person? He asked a question, although he didn't expect an answer. I've been communicating with you since early childhood, but I never thought that you were so stupid. Honestly, you give the impression of a rather smart and educated person. The Uchiha informed him sarcastically. Appreciate what you have, otherwise you may lose, and there will be no one to appreciate. The genins had been walking through the endless forest to the land of waves for several days. Naruto was mentally communicating with Kurama all this time, Sasuke was walking in his thoughts, Kakashi-sensei occasionally talked to Sakura, and the girl herself was trying not to kill their customer. Tazuna has been humming various songs for several days now, if you can call it singing. More like the howl of a dying wolf, or worse. And how can Naruto and Sasuke stand it? True, he pissed off Sasuke back in the Hokage's office, so now he was thinking through several plans to kill this man. After all, if he killed him now, there would be fewer problems in the future. Much less, it should be noted. And Zabuza will have less work, and he will remain alive along with his Haku. Although, as Naruto said, they don't deserve to die. She wants to try to save them, to give them a new life, to replace the one they live. And Sasuke, as he promised his best friend, will help in this crazy and impossible desire. Although, when was something impossible for Uzumaki? Rather, it was difficult. But difficulties did not stop her. Can I kill him? Kurama growled in Naruto's head. It is forbidden. You can't kill employers, its bearer said with such a bold hint that Kyubi grinned rather pleased. Of course, no one will let him kill this drunkard, but you can dream. At that moment, Naruto caught sight of that same ill-fated puddle and, motioning to Sasuke to see it, because he was walking very close, she quietly took out a kunai from her pouch. And as soon as the team passed by the remnants of the rain, 2 enemy shinobi jumped out and cut Kakashi-sensei with chains. Sakura, we must pay tribute, was almost not at a loss and, as befits an Irionin, did not get into the thick of things, but stood up for Tezuna's defense. Sasuke and Naruto simultaneously attacked the shinobi of the mist, launching fireballs of the same size at the two. They were even confused and, having missed the moment when Uzumaki created the clone, paid for it. Naruto's clone attacked them from behind and wounded one of them in the shoulder, while the other was taken by the Uchiha. Prudently not killing their opponent, the Uzumaki and the clone attacked him from both sides, firing air bullets at him. He was unable to do anything when 2 bullets entered his unwounded shoulder, and 2 more entered his left leg. The enemy fell to his knees. Switching places with Sakura, she sent Haruno to examine the victim to make sure that he would not die from loss of blood, while Sasuke had already dealt with his enemy. He plunged him into a slight illusion and, while he was trying to come to his senses, cut his throat with a kunai. He has damaged bones in his arms and left leg where your bullets entered, Naruto. Therefore, he will not be able to move unless qualified assistance is provided. Sakura finished examining the medical equipment that she had already mastered. I stopped the bleeding, but didn't do anything else. Just at that moment, the cut Kakashi appeared. Tezuna hiccuped in fear, behind Naruto. Kakashi-sensei, you are just in time. Sasuke informed him with a gentle face, wiping the blood from the kunai. Well done, Naruto, Sasuke, good job. And you, Sakura, were not at a loss and stood up to defend the client. Well, I'm pleased. And now I need to interrogate our victim. Just at that moment, Naruto's opponent came to his senses. Well, it's getting hotter. After Tezuna's educational story about the situation in the country of waves, the team decided to continue the mission, causing the employer to breathe a sigh of relief. Then they walked without incident, listening to Kakashi's stories about the structure of the shinobi world, about great countries, about the 5 Kage and much, much more. Although Naruto and Sasuke had already heard a similar story in that world, even they admitted that it was very interesting to listen to. Sensei knew how, when necessary, to present information correctly in order to interest the listener. When the team swam across the river, listening to the sad confession of the employer, only Sakura was hooked. To be honest, they ended up in the land of waves. Again, endless forests that everyone is already tired of. Naruto's intuition literally screamed about the danger that would soon overtake them, and she, Uzumaki, even knew the name of this danger. Still, it's good that her home world and this one are so similar in the chronology of events. And having a memory of past events is also very good. Naruto, be careful. I know. I feel bloodlust nearby. Zabuza must be showing up soon. As if on cue, someone rustled in the bushes. Sakura went in that direction and pulled out a white bunny, completely unusual for these places. Naruto and Sasuke looked at each other, and Kakashi tensed. Nearby, the architect hiccuped somewhere. After walking for another 15 minutes, Uzumaki recognized the place they had come to. Get down. The sensei commanded, and everyone literally fell to the ground. The next moment, a huge sword, the decapitator, flew overhead and crashed into the tree with all its might. A familiar nuke-nin, wrapped in bandages, landed on him. Sakura squeaked in fear next to her, but did not scream. Expanding her sensory abilities, Naruto sensed the chakra of another old friend, Haku. He stood about 50 meters from the site of the future battle between Momochi Zabuza and Hitaki Kakashi. Who do I see? Is this really the copy ninja of Konoha? Momochi Zabuza, Nuke of the Mist. Since we already know each other, with these words, Kakashi opened his Sharingan, and then turned to the children. They stood in a semicircle around the customer, kunai pointed forward. Hitaki was even surprised, because these children, without orders or explanations, stood up to defend the bridge builder. This is even better. Technique for hiding in the fog. Zabuza exclaimed, and the clearing was covered in fog. The Uchiha clan's dojutsu was useless, so the Jounin began to listen to the sensations. Nuke seemed to be everywhere, and at the same time nowhere. The situation was saved by Naruto, who, using a gust of wind, fanned the fog and opened the view for Kakashi. And, it should be noted, on time. Zabuza was just preparing to strike at the copy man, but he managed to dodge. For the next few minutes, the shinobi moved around the clearing at great speed, trying to reach each other. The moment Kakashi hit the Nuke with his blade, he spilled water across the clearing, and the original jumped out near the children, intending to kill them along with the architect. Naruto was already preparing to parry the blow when the sensei appeared near them, stopping the decapitator with his blade. Just like in the other world. Dodging, Kakashi again hit the criminal with his weapon, but this one also spilled with water, causing Hitaki to stare in surprise at his kunai. When a sword flew near him, he was no longer surprised. The decapitator cut him in half at the waist. Momochi Zabuza stared at this display, with obvious surprise. A blade appeared near his throat. Do you remember what happened in that world at that moment? Kurama asked his friend. The Zabuza clone dissipated again, and the original appeared from behind the copy man. Kakashi dodged the sword, but was sent flying by a kick from his leg. He landed straight into the water, which was a huge miss. Momochi dived after him, and then appeared on the surface along with the enemy, who was immersed in the water prison, and another clone stood in front of the genin. We can't stand against him, Sasuke said, correctly assessing his and his comrades' strengths. Naruto created several dozen clones, and sent them to the merman. The enemy just grinned. However, when all the clones attacked him at once, crushing him, there was no time for fun at all. But this was too easy for such an experienced Nuke, so within a second all the clones were dispersed. Naruto, spitting on everything and throwing 2 shuriken to Sasuke, ran towards Zabuza's clone. Sakura exclaimed something from behind. The Uchiha grinned. And Uzumaki continued to run towards the dangerous criminal. At that moment, when the clone wanted to get the decapitator, Naruto jumped back to Tazuna, and Sasuke threw shuriken towards the criminal. When the shuriken circled the clone and flew towards the original, Sakura, Tazuna, and Kakashi ate. Momochi simply grinned. He caught it with the hand that was free, and with the other he continued to hold the water prison. Another shuriken followed, and when Zabuza jumped over it, the weapon turned into Naruto. Momochi had no choice but to let go of her hand, causing Kakashi to be freed, and the Jinchuriki itself to dissipate in a cloud of smoke. They understood each other without words. It flashed through Sakura and Kakashi's heads at the same time. Sasuke and the original Naruto again defended the bridge builder, continuing to watch the fight between the sensei and the Nuke. Both were already standing on the water and making identical seals at great speed. 2 water dragons emerged from the water and, intertwined, attacked each other. At the same moment, a huge wave arose that almost swept the genin off their feet. Having subsided, the water opened its eyes on 2 shinobi who were synchronously performing actions one after another. Kakashi, with the help of the Sharingan, copied not only the seals, but also all of Momochi's words, shocking him. At some point, behind Kakashi's back, he saw himself and, distracted by this action, missed how the enemy made the seals. He is swept away by the water whirlpool. A huge stream of water carried Nuke deep into the forest. That's all, Kakashi said. He threw a kunai at the swordsman, pinning him to a tree. How? How did you do this? Zabuza whispered. When Hatake was about to deliver the final blow, suddenly Tsusenban entered the criminal's neck. A guy wearing a Kiri-Oinen mask appeared in front of the Leaf Shinobi. He modestly thanked for the capture of a dangerous criminal on behalf of the village of Mist and left, leaving the shinobi at a loss. Well, more precisely, Sakura and Tazuna are at a loss. Naruto and Sasuke sighed heavily, realizing that nothing was over like Kakashi had just said. The copier suddenly fell to the ground. Sakura ran up to him, scanning his body for damage. She was seriously scared for her sensei. Saying that he had simple chakra exhaustion, she nodded to herself. Everything is not as bad as it might seem. A couple of days after that battle, Kakashi came to his senses. They were already at the bridge builder's house, so he was able to rest peacefully and restore his chakra reserves, although not completely. As if sensing it, the genin entered his room to check on their sensei. The children told him that after he fell after the fight, they dragged him to Tazuna's house, where his daughter helped him. Having finished the story, the genin began to ask the sensei about Zabuza Momochi, their battle and the Sharingan. More precisely, only Sakura asked, while Sasuke and Naruto listened in silence. He had to tell him that his Sharingan, since it is not native, consumes a lot of chakra, so he can use it for a limited amount of time. He also said that he simply copied Zabuza's seals, and then, to distract him, he created an illusion behind him. This helped gain time and apply the technique before Nukmin. When he said that Momochi was actually alive, and the Oinen turned out to be his accomplice, only Sakura was surprised. Naruto said that she felt the flow of chakra in the criminal's body, but very weak, which simply meant deep sleep, and Sasuke said that all the Oinen of the mist burn the body of a Nukmin on the spot, and do not take it with them, as his brother told him. And he didn't lie a word, because Itachi actually recently told him and Naruto about this when the topic came up about the Nukmin. The next day after waking up, Kakashi took the children into the forest to train them. Only Sakura had to be taught how to walk through trees, since other genin already knew how. And Sakura succeeded on the first try, which further confirmed that Sakura belongs in the Ironing. When he sent her there, he was based only on personal observations and information from the dossier. And here is direct confirmation of her abilities. Without thinking twice, Kakashi decided to determine Haruno's element, since Naruto and Sasuke, again, knew them and had already used the jutsu. The pink-haired one turned out to have earth. As the same Hatake said, this element is good both in attack and defense. He showed the girl the easiest technique, and for Naruto and Sasuke he told about training that increases chakra reserves and expands chakra channels. Uzumaki, in her humble manner, thanked the sensei, and the Uchiha simply began to do what they said. He also talked about the elements and their weaknesses, although both Naruto and Sasuke had already heard all this from Itachi, and the Jinchuriki also from Yamato-sensei in that world. But refreshing your memory is never a bad thing. As I already said, Naruto and Sasuke are the fighting duo of the team, therefore, they should know a lot of jutsu. Explained the balance of power in the team while the children were training. Sakura can become a field Ironing, or maybe a combat one, like Tsunade-san. This requires a lot of training. Tsunade-san, a great medic and one of the trio of Sanins? Naruto clarified, pulling out information from the barriers of memory that, it turns out, Bachan is her godmother, and Jiraiya is her godfather, and, as it were, Tsunade's husband. It was unexpected. Exactly, Naruto-chan. Kakashi nodded. I personally fought against her. Her powers are simply incredible. Is she in the village now? Asked Haruno. Naruto thought that if these two were in the village now, all the residents from shinobi to ordinary civilians knew about it. It is still unknown how the situation with Orochimaru is in this world, but only these two can make so much noise in the village that Kyuubi will envy. I would ask. Ninetails drawled in his head. No, Sakura, they are traveling. But, as far as I know, they should return to the village soon. Naruto and Sasuke looked at each other. Kakashi-sensei, I'm done. Well done, Sakura. Come on, I'll show you something else. Kakashi made a series of seals and put his hand to the ground. From there, an earthen wall immediately appeared, approximately as tall as Haruno. You have to train for a long time to master at least this technique. But you can handle it. Naruto suddenly remembered the conversation she had with Haku a few hours ago. Then she asked Kakashi to go to the clearing where they met Haku in that world, hoping that he would be there now. As far as she remembered, it was on this day that they met. Using her sensory abilities, the girl caught the familiar light of chakra that was burning just not far from her. "Hello," she said when she came out into that clearing and saw Haku. He was collecting medicinal herbs, but it was obvious that he immediately noticed her. "Hello." The girl came closer to Zabuza's partner and sat down next to him. He looked at her in surprise, but said nothing. "You recognize me, Oinen from the mist?" "Found out, Konoha Shinobi." He answered in surprise. "You are a censor." "Yes. I recognized you by your chakra." "What will you do? Will you tell your sensei?" "No, why?" "He already knows that you are not the Oinen of the mist and that Zabuza is alive." "I wanted to talk to you." "About what?" Yuki tensed. "Don't be so nervous, Haku. I'm not going to attack you or look for Zabuza. You will find us yourself very soon." "How do you know my name?" "Who are you?" "Namikaze Naruto, nice to meet you." She smiled. "I know much more about you than you think. But is this important now?" "Soon we will meet in battle, and he will say much more than words. I want to make this clear, I have no desire to kill you or Zabuza, believe me. I know that you simply have no choice, and you will attack us one way or another, but we can let you go." "I don't understand you." "We will release you after our battle if you destroy Gato. You have your own scores to settle with him, and we must complete the mission." "Why should I believe you?" "You do not have to. You don't owe anyone anything, Haku. Just know that you have an alternative option." "What do you need it for?" "I want to save you. You deserve to live, even as apostates." As if on schedule, on the same day, at the same time, Zabuza and Haku attacked the bridge builder and Konoha Shinobi. The day started as usual. The team got up, went to warm up, then had breakfast. Tazuna immediately decided to go to the construction site to continue work, and Kakashi, Sakura, and Sasuke went with him. Naruto remained to guard the architect's grandson and daughter. By the way, about the little grandson. The boy behaved exactly as he did in the other world. He was hostile to Konoha Shinobi, and, due to her nature, Naruto could not argue with him or put him in his place. I had to talk to the boy alone, after which he was inspired and listened to the words of the young Jinchuriki. So, a few hours after part of team number 7 left, the house was attacked by 2 shinobi. Naruto, as in that world, defeated them, knocking them out with a couple of techniques and paralyzing them with seals, and ran to the bridge to help the others. Inari remained to protect his mother, as Uzumaki told him. The boy had deep respect for Naruto, so he obeyed, even though he was eager to fight. "Long time no see," Haku said quietly, covering his face with a mask when Naruto landed near Sasuke. The sounds of combat could be heard, there was a fight somewhere nearby. After making several seals, she blew out a strong stream of wind, which blew away the fog that had accumulated over the bridge. A picture of the fight between Kakashi and Zabuza appeared before her. The swordsman, swinging his huge sword, flew at great speed on Hitaka, and he, thanks to his Sharingan, deftly dodged all the demon's attacks. Sakura stood near the bridge builder, holding 2 kunai in her hands and ready to repel attacks. Although Naruto could see a slight trembling in her hands and a biting lip. Suddenly, ice stakes flew towards the Uchiha and Uzumaki. Both genin quickly jumped into the air, making their seals. 2 fireballs flew towards Yuki, but he didn't even move. Haku made the seals and exhaled cold air from his mouth. The ball slowed down and then disappeared completely. Naruto and Sasuke landed on either side of Haku. Senbons flew at them from both sides. Red Ice turned on his lights and deftly dodged the attack, and Uzumaki disappeared into smoke when the weapon touched her body. Clone? Yuki whispered in surprise. Sharingan? This is getting interesting. What are you doing? Uzumaki asked, appearing behind him. Haku suddenly leaned down and spun around, trying to knock Naruto down. I talked to Zabuza-san. We need to stall for time until Gato arrives. Quietly answered Icy so that only Naruto and Sasuke could hear him. The teenagers looked at each other and nodded, throwing kunai at Haku. Then we'll fake our deaths and leave. Can you distract your sensei and the girl? I'm not sure they'll understand us correctly if they reveal it. I'll take on Sakura, Sasuke said, dodging another attack from Yuki. The aforementioned pink-haired girl squeaked in fear when the ice stake almost touched the Uchiha's neck. I'm Kakashi-sensei. Naruto nodded, firing air bullets. Out of the corner of her eye, she watched Hitachi's fight. Zabuza tried to cut it with his sword, but the copy man moved behind the demon, trying to hit him with a chidori. Then Haku's partner spilled into a puddle on the bridge, and the original jumped from above, wounding Kakashi in the arm. Sakura looked at this with all her eyes, but could not do anything. Her legs became weak, and tears welled up in her eyes. She understood that she could help the sensei, but she could not help herself. It was scary. Sasuke, Naruto nodded towards Sakura. The Uchiha nodded and ran towards the girl to distract her. Uzumaki and Yuki, meanwhile, clashed in taijutsu. I feel the crowd approaching. It must be Gato. Can you handle it together? Yes. Haku said confidently, dropping Naruto to the ground. Still, she still does not reach the level of Oinen. Kakashi hit Zabuza with a chidori when he was distracted by his charge. The blood mist demon opened his eyes in surprise, looking down at the copy man's hand that was in his chest. It was unexpected. Even with a damaged arm, Kakashi managed to trick him and injure him. I respect you, copy ninja of Konoha, Zabuza said honestly, falling to his knees. Haku, seeing such a picture, punched Naruto in the stomach twice and ran up to his sensei. He wanted to hit Kakashi, but was stopped by the hand of the same Uzumaki. Hitachi, as the Jinchuriki felt, was exhausted and wounded, bleeding, so he could no longer fight. He has not yet fully recovered from the first battle, and even now he does not turn off his Sharingan. Zabuza, are you still alive? Gato, who approached, exclaimed cheerfully. The demon, still holding his chest, rose to his feet and coughed. Blood began to flow down his chin from his mouth. Kakashi wanted to strike again. Naruto is sure that he would really be the last for the nuke Nin, but Haku did not allow him to do this. He launched several techniques at Hitachi in a row that the Jounin had to dodge. Gato! I'll kill you! Naturally, the renegade of the mist roared, starting to run towards the fat man. He didn't even have time to say anything when a huge wave hit him and his gang. Zabuza-san. Haku ran after his sensei, intending to help him. Gato! Tazuna said in fear, standing behind Sakura, who was watching with all her eyes the battle between the apostates and a gang of criminals. Haruno tried again not to cry from emotions. Sasuke stood next to her, protecting her from the kunai and shuriken flying at them. Kakashi-sensei, how are you? Sakura came to her senses and, when the Uchiha nodded to her, she ran up to the copy man. He was holding his shoulder and could barely stand on his feet. Naruto, put it down. Uzumaki laid Kakashi on the bridge so that her partner could heal him at least a little. A green glow appeared on Haruno's hands, and she began to move them along the sensei's body. Naruto, meanwhile, folded her seals and about 20 of her clones appeared on the bridge. She sent them to help the renegades of the mist, wanting to quickly end this story. As Zabuza dealt the killing blow to Gato, he fell to his knees. Gasping for air. His gang was defeated by Haku and Naruto's clones. This is for everything you did to me. The swordsman fell after Gato, completely losing his strength. Haku, unnoticed by everyone, released a needle into him, which slowed down his blood flow and chakra circulation. Kakashi, who was slightly healed by the student, looked with all his eyes at the death of his opponent, not believing that it was all over. Sasuke ran up to his teammates and nodded to Naruto that everything was fine. She scattered the clones and approached Haku, who was crying very naturally, taking off his mask. Haku, you need to move on with your life. Zabuza would like this, but Yuki did not let Uzumaki finish. He was the meaning of my life. I lived to protect him. Haku said quietly, but everyone on the bridge heard him. Sasuke, to help Naruto, ran up to her and wanted to grab Yuki, but did not have time. What is your goal? Why are you doing all this? Are you saving us? He asked in a whisper, taking out a kunai. I want to save my loved ones. Give life to those who deserve it. You can't save everyone. You can try, Naruto, but you can't, trust me. I must. And you? What is your goal? What will you do after you achieve it? Will your life have any meaning? He turned to Sasuke. What will you do? Can you handle it? Certainly. I hope we meet again, Namikaze Naruto. Unexpectedly for Kakashi, Sakura, and Tazuna, the Icy One cut his throat with a deft movement of his hand, falling dead near his sensei. It's over, Sasuke. Yes, it's over. Then Zabuza and Haku will be on their own. Naruto believes that they will cope, because they have each other. The mission to escort Tazuna took a huge toll on the genin. Each of them learned certain lessons for themselves, and the two Nuke of the Mist left an imprint on their souls and memories that nothing could wash away. Hataki watched silent teenagers all the way to Konoha, who were only on their own minds and did not pay attention to their surroundings. After the death of the renegades, Sakura persuaded Kakashi and the others to bury their bodies. Team 7 made a grave for them on a cliff not far from the battle site. Here they will be together. Naruto said, although she knew very well that these were not renegades, but clones made by her. Sakura fully realized how weak and useless she was now. On the bridge, she turned out to be the one who needed to be protected, and not the one who should be saved. Haruno showed all the weakness that was hidden in her. While Naruto, Sasuke, and the sensei fought, she stood to the side, trying not to start crying. Yes, she is a future Ironin, she should not have gotten into the thick of things in order to save her teammates in time, as needed, in time, but she didn't even do that. When Kakashi-sensei was injured, she was unable to move to even stop the bleeding. She could have blamed it on her mission to protect Tazuna, but that wasn't the case. She was afraid to approach her sensei to examine and heal even minor wounds. Afraid of doing something wrong, afraid of Zabuza, afraid of dying. When it was all over, when Zabuza and Haku died, defeating Gato and becoming free, she swore that she would become strong. She will become the best Ironin, and will be worthy of her team. Naruto thought about what Haku said to her before he left. You can't save everyone, Naruto. And she remembered, and also replayed them in her head constantly. Kurama said that she was attaching too much importance to this boy's words, but Naruto didn't think so. After all, he was right. No matter how hard Uzumaki tries, she won't be able to save everyone. She could at least break into pieces, but she won't be able to. Who knows what could happen in this world? Who knows what will happen tomorrow? Maybe the world will end. Maybe the Jubi will be reborn again. Even the coming of Rakuto-sanin is possible, if he were wrong. And she really won't be able to do anything then. Death is inevitable. Shinigami will take everyone when the time comes. But she will try to make sure that this time does not come very soon. She will give her loved ones as much time as she can. Sasuke saw his best friend soul-searching and did not lag behind her. When you achieve your goal, Sasuke, what happens next? What will you live for? Find the meaning of life for yourself, the alarm sounded in the head of the young Uchiha. Find the meaning of life? How to do it? He had been asking this question for a very long time. In that life, the meaning of his life seemed to be revenge on his brother for the murder of his clan. But when this happened, then there was revenge on Konoha, but when this happened, an emptiness formed in my soul. What to do next? He had no family, he did not know what love and happiness were. Sasuke only had Naruto, who was always there. And nothing more. When he joined Konoha's Umbu, he hoped to fill that void, but it didn't work out. And now he has been given a second chance. A chance to correct your mistakes, a chance to find your happiness. What will it be like for the Uchiha? They entered the Hokage's office a little distracted, depressed, but, on the whole, returned to normal. Minato examined the children for injuries. Without stopping his gaze on his daughter, he walked over Hitaki, who stood with his hands in his pockets and leaned on the back of the chair. Report, Kakashi. Namikaze nodded to him, and he began the story. On the way to the land of waves, we were attacked by two from the fog. Based on their level of training, I can say that they were Chunin. They attacked us. Naruto and Sasuke neutralized the opponents while Sakura protected the builder. I interrogated the one who survived, and later the employer told us his story. A certain Gato was hunting him to prevent the construction of the bridge from being completed. I read everything in your letter, Kakashi. Minato stopped him. These facts automatically transferred the mission to a higher rank. After the meeting, it was decided to continue the mission. Hitaki spoke again. Already in the country of waves, Momochi Zabuza attacked us. At these words, Minato's eyes widened in surprise. The mission was promoted to rank A. The first battle ended with the swordsman being taken away by an Oinin from the mist, as it later turned out it was his partner, Haku. Despite his sensei's condition, he continued. The second battle took place a week later on the bridge. As a result of the battle, Momochi Zabuza and his partner were killed. It also turned out that the swordsman was hired by the same Gato, who died at his own hands, before the criminal died. We classify this mission as a mission of rank A. The payment is appropriate. Minato said hoarsely, impressed by the story. Free. And you, Kakashi, stay. The genins bowed silently and left, leaving the teacher and student alone. How did the genin perform during the mission? Were there any unforeseen situations? No, Hokage-sama. The genins behaved collectedly and decisively. Naruto and Sasuke fought side by side, covering each other's backs. Each of them proved to be a good strategist, and also showed excellent mastery of fire techniques. Naruto has mastered some wind techniques, and Sasuke has been developing lightning for a long time. As for the Jinchuriki, I can say that there were no surges of Fox's chakra. She also uses multiple shadow cloning, which does not harm her at all. From this I can judge the amount of her chakra. Sakura has proven herself to be an ironine, but she lacks courage and determination. However, she completed her task while her comrades fought. She did not leave Tazuna. I understand you, Kakashi. You can go. Minato nodded, and Hitaki, bowing, left as a shunshin. Entering the house, Naruto immediately went to the kitchen, where her mother and brother were. Before opening the door, she checked to see if anyone was home, and when she felt her mother's and Akira's chakra, she sighed heavily. When her great thoughts faded into the background, she felt wildly tired, and now her only desire was to go to the shower, and then lie down in a warm bed and fall asleep. Good afternoon, Kaa-chan, Nisan. The girl said quietly as she walked into the kitchen. Akira and Kushina looked at the youngest in surprise, and then greeted each other at the same time. When Naruto was about to leave, her older brother called out to her. How was the mission? He asked. Okay, Nii-san. And she nodded, again intending to leave. But, again, her respected brother did not let her do this. Naruto prayed to all the gods she knew to finally leave her alone. Why did he need to talk now? When did she, dirty and tired, just come from a mission? It was at this moment that he was suddenly inspired to talk. Databao. It flashed through Naruto's head. Why didn't you say you were leaving? Kushina bit her lip at these words of her son, but remained silent. Why am I learning about this from Itachi, and not from you? You didn't ask me, Nai-san. Uzumaki said quietly, but with some challenge, causing her brother to chuckle. Sorry, I'm very tired from the road and want to rest. Go, Naruto. The mother nodded to her, and the Jinchuriki went to her room without hesitation. After all, lying down and sleeping for 10 hours was her main desire at the moment. This mission exhausted her both physically and mentally. Sasuke entered the house just at the moment when the whole family was assembled, much to his surprise. Usually this happened only in the morning, at breakfast, and in the evening, at dinner. Even Itachi was at home when he should have been on a mission. As soon as Sasuke walked into the room, 3 eyes were directed at him at once. Mikoto examined him for damage and smiled warmly. Itachi did the same as his mother, but suppressed a smile. Only the raised corners of his lips spoke of his joy. Fugaku nodded in greeting, looking into his youngest son's eyes, and then said, "Welcome back, Sasuke." "Thank you, Oto-san." The youngest son nodded in response. "Sasuke, how was the mission?" Mikoto asked. "Okay, Ka-chan. I'm glad. Let me go to the room. I'm very tired from the road." Sasuke asked politely, addressing his father more as the head of the family. "Go, Sasuke." The father nodded, and Sasuke bowed and retired to his room, sighing with relief. It was still not easy for him to communicate with Fugaku and Mikoto. Some kind of heaviness pressed on him, not allowing him to breathe deeply in the circle of his family. It was good when he left the house for the whole day, returning only for dinner. When such unexpected meetings take place, it definitely becomes difficult to breathe. Entering the room, Sasuke collapsed on the bed, not even bothering to change his clothes. Is he really at home? Today we need to discuss the Chunin exam, which will take place in a week. The Hokage began at the Jounin Council. This exam is very important for our village. He will help us identify strong genin who can move forward in their careers. Several teams from the previous year's edition have already been recommended, so now I'm asking the team commanders for this edition. Will genin be eligible to take this exam? Several jounin who are in charge of this year's team stepped forward. Kurine, commander of the 8th team. Hyuga Hinata, Inazuka Kiba, and Aburame Shino are recommended by me to pass the Chunin exam under my name Yuhi Kurine. Asuma, commander of the 9th team. Yamanaka Ino, Nara Shikamaru, and Akimichi Choji are recommended by me to pass the Chunin exam under my name Sarutobi Asuma. Kakashi, commander of the 7th team. Namikaze Naruto, Uchiha Sasuke, and Haruno Sakura are recommended by me to pass the Chunin exam under my name Hataki Kakashi. As soon as the latter spoke, a dead silence reigned in the hall, broken only by the smoldering of Asuma's cigarette. All the jounin, as well as the Hokage, were in complete shock. So that all genin graduate and take the exam? This hasn't happened for a long time. A few minutes later, noise and commotion began in the room, causing Minato's ears to curl into a tube. "Quiet!" he shouted at the strong and experienced jounin, who now looked more like runaway genin. At once there was silence in the room and all the strong and experienced fell silent. "Kakashi, Kurinai, Asuma, are you absolutely confident in your charges? If any of them are not ready, then it is better to tell you about it now. My team is ready to pass the exam," the mentor said at the same time. "Naruto, I feel Shikaku," they growled in their head. "Gaara is already here, that means," Uzumaki chuckled in response, walking around Konoha along detours. After a couple of turns, the Jinchuriki came out exactly to the place where the sandstone team was standing. Kankuro and Temari were arguing about something when the red-haired one was sitting on a tree not far from them. And Naruto, without hesitation, jumped onto a branch near Gaara, attracting his attention. He definitely noticed her, but did not react in any way, continuing to sit with his eyes closed. "Hello. One-tailed one," the girl said quietly, and Gaara sharply opened his eyes. Suddenly she was enveloped in sand, and the one-tailed Jinchuriki was right in front of her. Temari and Kankuro looked at their brother in fear, but were in no hurry to interfere. "Life-threatening, as they say." "Where?" he whispered, but it quickly dawned on him. His eyes widened in surprise, and the sand squeezed the young Uzumaki tighter. The next moment the world went dark and he found himself in Naruto's inner world. "What's happening? Who are you? Are you a demon too?" "I? No, I'm not a demon. My name is Namikaze Naruto, and I am the Jinchuriki of the nine-tailed demon fox." The girl officially introduced herself. "Are you the Jinchuriki of the One-Tails?" And she nodded somewhere behind Gaara, where two demons stood in all their glory. The red-haired man backed away in fear, looking at the bijou with all his eyes. "How? What?" The Kazekage of that world could not say a word. Now he looked like a little scared kitten, as Sasuke once said about her. "We are in my inner world. Our demons, the One-Tails and the Nine-Tails, are talking there." "What's your name, by the way?" "You know my name, but I don't know yours," Naruto said with a sweet smile. My name is Dog no Gaara." The son of the Kazekage stammered. "Come on, you calm down, and I'll explain everything to you?" Naruto asked, and, receiving a satisfactory nod from her future friend, "And he will be Databeo," began her story. For the first time in this world, she could tell her story from beginning to end. Uzumaki told Gaara everything, her past life, her current life, about the former owner of the body. She understood that this man would never tell anyone anything, because, this is Gaara. No matter what world he is from, he will always remain her friend. How long had she wanted to tell someone, share with someone other than Sasuke? And the red-haired one listened and did not interrupt, analyzing everything and putting it on the shelves. And both of their souls felt calm, as if incredible power was enveloping them. It must have been at this moment that the special connection they had in that world appeared. And this is not a connection between two Jinchuriki. This is a connection between close people, friends who understand each other. It is stronger, and longer. Of course, the connection between two bearers of bijou also plays an important role here. As they say, only a Jinchuriki can understand another Jinchuriki. Naruto knew that she would love to tell Itachi all this, but she was afraid. She was afraid that he would leave her after he found out about her past life. She was afraid of losing someone so close to her who had settled in her heart forever. Itachi was a man of genius, and it is unknown how this genius would affect his reaction. And if she could tell Gaara both about herself and about Sasuke, then it wouldn't work that way with Itachi. The dog doesn't care at all about the youngest of the Uchihas, and Itachi is directly connected with him. And Naruto cannot solve such issues alone, without his friend. Maybe he wants to keep his whole past life a secret, just between the two of them. "Were we friends in that world?" Gaara asked in a whisper when Naruto finished her story. "I never had friends." "Yes, you were one of my best friends." The Kyuubi Jinchuriki nodded. "Now you will have me. We may live in different villages, but you can always rely on me." "How many of them did you have?" "Friends? I had a lot of them. There are only 3 closest ones. You, Sasuke, and Kurama." And she nodded her head towards the Nine-Tails, although he was no longer in that place. Naruto felt breath on her hair and raised her head. There, grinning, stood the fox. "How long will you be there?" "We're already done." Kurama growled over their heads. Gaara even flinched. "Shikaku, where are you?" Uzumaki Raccoon called. A second later, the one-tailed one himself appeared before her eyes, sitting down next to her fox. "Shikaku?" Gaara asked stupidly. "That's his name." Naruto nodded. "Well, you're still going to take over my friend's mind, huh? Only you can communicate with a demon like that." Kurama put his paw to his muzzle, shaking his head sadly. I've lived side by side with you all my life, what do you want? His dearest bearer snorted. What do you mean, two-legged misunderstanding? And the fact that you are the infection nine-tails. Gaara stood and was silently amazed at this girl. He looked at Shikaku and, finding understanding in his eyes, sighed heavily. Really, how can you communicate with demons like that? So, what are we talking about? I hope you and Kurama have reached an agreement? Addressing the one-tail. How can you talk to me like that, girl? The raccoon either squeaked or growled. He looked at the two teenagers, who had already risen to their feet, with his small eyes, and giggled disgustingly. Do not shout at me. And answer the question. Naruto didn't get it. She's dated less crazy people too. Just think, the voice is disgusting. Well, and appearance too. But Kurama also does not shine with beauty and grace. Although, if we compare these two demons, the fox is definitely more beautiful. Naruto might even say that he is the most handsome of her relatives. We will find a common language. Still, the demon answered. Should we save the girl, or should we save ourselves? Kankuro asked his sister in a trembling voice, who was looking at the unfolding scene with all her eyes. And indeed, the brother's question was very opportune, because it is unknown what would come into the head of the one-tailed Jinchuriki. Gaara has been mentally unstable since childhood. He could sit quietly, and the next moment he could kill the person who crept up behind him. And Temari was afraid of her younger brother from infancy. One day, 5 years ago, he tried to kill her when she called his name. It was the most terrible moment in her life. She thought that her brother's face would be the last thing she saw. Although, it is understandable why Gaara became like this. His family didn't love him, they were afraid. The only person who always cared about him, his uncle, died at the hands of the red-haired man when he tried to attack. As a child, he was kept in a locked room so that he could not harm anyone. All this did not have a good effect on the psyche of the young Jinchuriki. Moreover, Shikaku added fuel to the fire, not letting the child sleep and trying to take over his mind. What's going on here? A cold and arrogant voice came from Kankuro's left. Sasuke stood next to the guy and looked at this performance with a grin on his face. Who are you? Who are you anyway? Why are you minding your own business, you? Dog, but began to be indignant at the whole village, which made the Uchiha roll his eyes. I am a shinobi of this village, but this is the first time I've seen you. And judging by your treads, you are from the village of Sand. Is this your teammate? So why is he attacking the shinobi of our village? You'd better intervene. The red-eyed man said in an instructive tone, and the decorated boy began to swear even louder, intending to start a fight with this arrogant under-shinobi. Kankuro. The brother's calm voice rang out when the puppeteer had already taken out his puppet. Calm down, you are disgracing our village. Gaara, Temari whispered when her younger brother came down from the tree. The blonde girl stood next to him. The very fact that she remained alive was amazing. Gaara always finishes his kills. What is it? The world has gone crazy. Or Temari? Naruto, meanwhile, quietly nodded to Sasuke, who looked at him questioningly. Then looked around the dog family, consisting of 3 people, and grinned to herself. Such different children. If I didn't know that they were siblings, I would never have thought. Naruto? Her best friend called with a questioning intonation. Gaara glanced at him, but didn't say anything. It's okay, Sasuke. The Jinchuriki nodded in response, smiling slightly. Still, there are strangers here, you can't take off your mask. So you're Sasuke? Gaara received a nod in response. I would like to fight you. Mutually, Gaara. The Uchiha grinned. See you at the exam. The red-haired man turned to Naruto, looked into her eyes, and then said, Thank you, Namikaze Naruto. It should be noted that he spoke words of gratitude for the first time in his life. He still has a lot to learn, to get used to the demon in his head that does not whisper the words of murder, and to understand the meaning of friendship, to learn to trust, as Naruto trusted him when she told her story. And he will keep her secret, take her to the grave with him. Gaara turned 180 degrees to get away from his future rivals. Kankuro, Temari, we have to go. His older brother and sister followed him, looking at each other in surprise. Well, it's time for us to meet Kakashi-sensei. Uzumaki chuckled when the village guests disappeared from view. After meeting the Sabaku no family, Uzumaki and Uchiha went to meet their punctual sensei. On the way, they met Sakura, who was also going to the training ground of Team 7, where Kakashi was supposed to wait. But he, of course, did not wait for them there, arriving only an hour later. The genin were not surprised, just as they were not surprised by his excuse about getting lost on the road of life. Then he began to talk about the Chunin exam and about the fact that he recommended them for this entertainment. Sakura, Naruto, and Sasuke looked at each other, looked at the outstretched cards, bit their lower lip in sync, causing Kakashi to grin under his mask, and then took each of their cards and nodded. The Uzumaki and Uchiha were confident in their abilities, after all, they were already experienced, but Haruno was not. But she understood that this was necessary in order to show herself, reveal her full potential and not let her beloved Sasuke down. Well, and the whole team as a whole. Kakashi then nodded with satisfaction and left his charges, saying the place and time of the meeting. After saying goodbye to Sakura, Naruto took a roundabout route to another training ground, where Itachi should already be. Sasuke took a different route, telling Haruno that his brother wanted to see him before his mission, which, however, was not far from the truth. The elder Uchiha actually went on a mission in the evening, so he wanted to see his brother and his girlfriend alone, without prying eyes and ears. After the team returned from the Land of Waves, they trained only 3 times, since the genius was busy with missions and his father was busy with work. "Hello Naruto," the Uchiha said then when he saw the girl who came to the training ground. A few minutes later, the little brother appeared. "Well, what's new with you?" he asked after Uzumaki put up a barrier. "Kakashi-sensei recommended us for the Chunin exam. Tomorrow is the first stage," Sasuke informed him. "Is it true? Isn't it early?" The elder Uchiha was surprised. "You passed this exam when you were 9 years old, Itachi." My brother snorted in response. "I am another matter." "Come on, Itachi, don't worry so much," said Naruto. "After all, you trained us. And Kakashi-sensei sometimes. Everything will be fine. There will be very strong genin there. We are not weak either." The younger Uchiha was indignant, causing his brother to chuckle. "Of course, but I'm still worried." "Still, you are not strangers to me," Itachi answered with all seriousness. "You're so cute when you're worried. Looks like a kitten," Naruto said without thinking, causing her to blush. Itachi and Sasuke looked at her in surprise, which added even more color to her face. It seems that even the hair turned red, and the face began to look like the favorite vegetable of a failed Avenger. Because of all this, Naruto turned away from the guys and began checking her pouch. "If I'm a kitten, then you're, honey," the eldest of the brothers said hesitantly. Naruto blushed even more, although much more, and Sasuke, not without surprise, noted the slight blush on Itachi's cheeks. Interesting. After that awkward situation, the shinobi made a friendly decision to train. To somehow defuse the situation. Gradually everything became the same again, and the awkwardness went away. They trained until the evening, until it was time for Itachi to leave for his mission. He promised that he would try to return as soon as possible to help his charges prepare for more difficult stages than the first. Sasuke and Naruto hugged the elder and made him promise that he would be careful. "I promise, sunshine." Itachi faked it for the last time. "Kitty." Uzumaki did not remain in debt. "If I didn't know, I would think it was a hidden insult," Sasuke quipped, interrupting the friendly squabble. "Baby snake." The Jinchuriki hissed in response, sounding more like the aforementioned creeper. Thanks for the compliment. And he spread a smile across his entire face, which looked more like a grin. All that was missing was a forked tongue between the teeth, like Orochimaru's. Imagining this, Naruto shuddered, and her inner peace began to collapse due to Kurama's loud laughter. Its bearer definitely had a rich and perverted imagination. Maybe she shouldn't have traveled with Jiraiya? After this dialogue, Itachi said goodbye to the genin and ran off to the mission without even looking back. Naruto and Sasuke had another friendly sparring session and went home so that, as Kyuubi advised, not to fall face down tomorrow and disgrace the name of the great and mighty Kyuubi no Yoko. After all, its bearer must have incredible strength and intelligence. Again, in the words of the great and mighty. And the genin themselves felt slightly tired after several sparring sessions with Itachi, 2 hours of training, and then another sparring session with each other. But it's not destiny, as they say, for Naruto to rest. When the girl approached her house, out of habit, she scanned the area to find out who from her family was home. Today she was in for a big surprise. Simply huge. When Naruto used her sensory abilities, she found two all too familiar chakras in the house. Kurama, I think? No, it's really them. She was suddenly flooded with memories from that world that so warmed her soul and heart. Now 2 of her close people are in this house, and she won't even be able to hug them because of her own family. Sighing heavily, Naruto opened the door of the house, and the aroma of freshly cooked food immediately hit her nose. Apparently they are having dinner now. Letting the air out of her lungs once more, Uzumaki walked into the kitchen, where, as she expected, her entire family was sitting, along with the perverted hermit and Tsunade-bachan. Suppressing her emotions, Naruto raised her head and looked at her relatives. "Good evening," she said quietly, attracting the attention of everyone present. "Naruchan," Jiraiya exclaimed in his own manner, getting up from the table. "How you have grown. She has become such a beauty. I heard that you were already a genin. Would you like to hug your beloved godfather? I miss you very much. We haven't seen each other for 4 years." Her former sensei spoke quickly. Tsunade grinned, and then stood up and screamed as hard as she could at her husband. Yes, this world Tsunade and Jiraiya had been married for several years, which surprised Naruto greatly. This was truly unexpected for the young traveler through the worlds. And Bachan was her godmother, which finally finished off Uzumaki. "Calm down, Jiraiya. Let Naruto at least say a word." Without betraying herself, the former 5th Hokage shouted. Naruto, imitating the former owner of the body, flinched from such a loud scream and backed away in fear, which her godparents undoubtedly noticed. "Naruchan, what is it? Aren't you glad to see us?" Looking around the whole family, the Jinchuriki noticed strange expressions on the faces of its members. Kaa-chan lowered her head, Akira bit his lip, and Minato looked warily at his sensei and his wife. This family will drive her crazy. "Sorry, Jiraiya-san, Tsunade-san, I'm tired," she said. "I have an exam tomorrow, I would like to rest. Can I go to my room, Oto-san?" She turned to her father. He gave her a glance and a nod, then turned again, towards Jiraiya. "I was glad to see you." A polite bow towards the godparents, and she leaves them in complete bewilderment, leaving for the room. "You handled yourself well." "I had to, Kurama. Rest." In the morning, Naruto got up very early, with the first rays of the sun. She wanted to leave the house early, before her parents or brother got up, so quickly getting up, washing, dressing and braiding her hair, Uzumaki left her room, intending to also quickly get out of this house. But her plans were not destined to come true, as Kushina found her on the stairs, leaving the kitchen. Looking around at her daughter, she wished her good morning and invited her to breakfast. Naruto couldn't refuse, so within a minute she was sitting at the table waiting for a plate of food. After all, you really need to fuel up before an exam. "Bon appetit, Naruto," Kaa-chan said quietly. Naruto just nodded in response. Still, her relationship with her mother, compared with her relationship with her father, is much better. She began to greet her, sometimes asking about how the mission went or saying goodbye to her before leaving, while Odo-san only gives her a share of contempt and hatred every time the girl appears in his field of vision. Akira had also recently begun to pay attention to his little sister, greeting her or inquiring about her progress. This was a definite shift in relations with the family, which could not but rejoice. Although it was unusual. "Thank you, Ka-chan." Naruto thanked her after breakfast, intending to leave. "Good luck on the exam." "Thank you." And she left, leaving her mother alone. Walking through the streets of Konoha in the morning, when many people had not yet woken up and there was no noise on the street, Naruto recalled all the nuances of the first stage of the Chunin exam. As she remembered, the examiner would be Marino Ibiki, a master of torture and interrogation. In a past life, this man gave the young Jinchuriki a lot of goosebumps. Until a certain time. When the fourth shinobi war passed, Naruto was no longer afraid of this man. And when she joined the Umbu, having undergone special training, she could withstand his interrogations. It has been tested more than once or twice. And Ibiki began to respect her as an already experienced and strong shinobi. While she was thinking, she didn't even notice that the time for the first exam had come, which the fox kindly reminded her of. At the appointed time, Naruto approached the meeting place, where the team was already waiting for her. Sasuke nodded welcomingly, Sakura waved her hand, to which Uzumaki smiled slightly and nodded in response. "Ready?" Haruno asked her comrades. "Is it possible to be prepared for this?" Sasuke thought phlegmatically, but nodded anyway. Naruto followed suit. Having received satisfactory answers from her teammates, the pink-haired girl stepped towards the exam, that is, she crossed the threshold of the building where the exam was taking place. On the second floor, team number 7 saw a crowd of shinobi who were not allowed into the auditorium. Naruto and Sasuke quietly glanced at each other, and Sakura frowned. "What's going on here?" she asked two people who were standing in front of the door. "More weaklings have arrived." One of them began to intimidate. "How are you going to pass the exam?" "Remove the illusion, that's what I tell you." Sakura chuckled. Naruto had long noticed that Sakura had changed a lot since the Genin exam. The girl became more collected, decisive in some matters, and restrained. She began to focus less on Sasuke-kun and more on her own strengths and capabilities. And her relationship with Naruto improved, and she could call her, if not a friend, then a faithful comrade. The medical courses must have had an effect, because they teach you not only medical jutsu, but also how to restrain your emotions, which are so undesirable for a serious Irionin. Also, in addition to medicine, she began to study the techniques of her element of earth. Kakashi said that even though she is a future Ironin, she should be able to stand up for herself. Naruto showed her the destructive power of her fist, which she had already shown in the test, saying that with her chakra control, this ability would come in handy. Very noticeable. "Yes, and this is the second floor," she added, seeing the surprised faces of the shinobi. At the same moment, the office number changed to the correct one, and all the genin gasped in surprise. "We're on the third one." Sasuke nodded. Team 7 was about to leave when the boy in green tights' heartbreaking cry was heard. "You will be my girlfriend?" He jumped up to Sakura with enthusiasm. She involuntarily recoiled, and an expression of wild horror appeared on her face. Apparently, here she could not contain her emotions. "What eyebrows?" The young kunoichi was truly horrified. "And you don't even know my name. So tell it to me." The boy continued to shout. "I'm Rock Lee." "No. I won't tell you my name. It's time for us to go." And grabbing her teammates by the hands, she led them towards the stairs, to the third floor. Kakashi-sensei met them near the office. He gave them instructions in his favorite manner, told them that he was proud of them and that they had achieved great results. The three genin could not contain their emotions and looked at the teacher with obvious skepticism, to which the copy one only shrugged. What is he? He's okay. Therefore, he disappeared from the eyes of his charges with his favorite shunshin. Team 7 looked at each other, shrugged, and opened the auditorium door. All the genins present in the room immediately looked at them. Some are hostile, some are curious. Sasuke, in response, also began to examine everyone, giving some his signature Uchiha look, causing the victims to shudder and look away. In the very corner, the offworlders saw a team from Sand. Gaara nodded his head slightly in greeting. Naruto and Sasuke responded in kind. Who do I see? There was a squeal from the side. Ino and her team approached them, immediately throwing themselves at the Uchiha's neck. He didn't react at all, he just rolled his eyes. The Uzumaki laughed inwardly, and Kurama chuckled, once again enjoying Sasuke's suffering. Sasuke-kun. Ino pork, leave him alone. Sakura said indignantly, literally tearing the hands of her eternal rival off her teammate's neck. At that moment, team number 8, consisting of Hinata, Kiba, and Shino, approached them. The whole issue is collected, right? Shikamaru grinned, opening one eye. Problematic, he said, looking at his sworn friends, burning with anger. It seems that Sakura still has to work on her emotions. How are you, Naruto-chan? He turned to her, apparently, as the only adequate person here. The rest of his classmates were busy bragging about their achievements and missions. Perhaps only Sasuke, Shino, and Hinata stood silently, listening to this farce. Naruto, meanwhile, looked around the audience, looking for familiar faces. To her great happiness, she did not find either Kabuto or the Sound Trio. Does this mean that there will be no attack from Orochimaru here? Okay, Shikamaru-kun. She said quietly. At that moment, the future main fear of the genin, Marino Ibiki, appeared in the hall. He looked at the genin, this year's graduates, who were making noise in the classroom, and then grinned. We're starting the first stage of the Chunin exam. Ibiki proclaimed, this time looking around at all the genin. Someone trembled, someone sweated, and someone looked back with an equally frightening look. The examiner, of course, was not impressed, but the other participants were impressed and decided that they were in a society of psychos. It would be better to stay at home, albeit as genins, but with an intact psyche. Naruto chuckled to herself, but didn't show it. Let's go, Databeo. I am Anko Madarashi, your examiner for the second stage. This woman flew through the window immediately after Ibiki told about the most important 10th question, which filled all the genin with wild horror. The first stage of the Chunin exam began quite normally. There were no screams, no fights, only quiet horror on the faces of the shinobi when they saw the first examiner. Then he talked about how this written exam would be held. It became even worse when they saw the tasks of the first stage, the fear seemed to become material. After 15 minutes, most of the audience was cheating, only a select few wrote themselves. Among them was Sakura, who was diligently filling out the form. Sasuke skillfully used his Sharingan, finding a figurehead, Niji, the Byakugan, 10 hung mirrors on the ceiling, which reflected the answers of some of the genin, which Rock Lee also used, and Naruto did not lag behind, although she could answer the questions herself, but why? She knows the meaning of this stage. Gaara used his sand eye. Those who burned for writing off were kicked out along with the team. And there were many of them. After the first half hour, the office was half empty. In all corners of the auditorium sat Chunin and Jounin who, as the examiner said, ensured that the genin wrote themselves, but in reality they wrote down who was noticed cheating how many times. After 3 criticisms, the genin was removed from the exam. Ibiki pressed with his gaze and demonic grin, and even added ki for greater persuasiveness. In general, the atmosphere was depressing. It's time for the 10th question, he said after the time was up. Many genin looked at the examiner in fear and gulped. Ibiki began to intimidate the participants. Honestly, if Naruto had not already passed this exam, she would have been intimidated. He says that even if candidates answer all 9 written questions, if at least one of their team fails to answer the 10th question correctly, then the team's total score becomes 0. If at least one team member cannot answer the 10th question, then the entire team can never take the exam again. If a candidate is not confident, he can raise his hand and refuse, in which case the whole team becomes eligible to take the exam the following year. Many genin left the audience in teams after such a fiery speech. Naruto wasn't going to make any fiery speeches this time, after all, why would she need that? As a result, only the bravest remained in the audience. Well, those who remained, you passed the exam. But how? What about the 10th question? Asked some genin from the village of grass. Ibiki then explained that the 10th question is actually another test, because all candidates who decide to answer this question automatically qualify for the second stage. Thus, he is something of a choice for every shinobi. Just at that moment, Enko flew into the room, breaking the window. You left a lot this year. She chuckled after the greeting, looking around the participants. Strong genin caught this year. The master of torture and interrogation chuckled in response. My stage will be less than half completed, said Orochimaru's student. Behind me. What kind of scary people live in Konoha? It sounded somewhere above Naruto's head. These words made her smile slightly, and then found her teammates. Even Sasuke allowed himself a slight smile, although he was fully confident that they would pass this stage. What did you do with my goddaughter? While Naruto was going through the first stage of the exam, a life and death battle began in the Hokage's office. Jiraiya and Tsunade, who were very surprised by the behavior of their beloved goddaughter, came today to find out from Minato what happened to the solar child. Previously, when Naruto was little, she would constantly throw herself at the Sanins as soon as she saw them. And they themselves were not against it. And yesterday, at dinner, she acted too, coldly, distantly, as if she was afraid of something and looked at her Oto-san all the time. Jiraiya and his wife already suspected something was wrong, and their suspicions intensified when Kushina lowered her head and Akira bit his lip. Minato sat with the coldest expression on his face. Therefore, the crazy couple decided to visit their beloved Hokage in the morning. Nothing. Minato answered Tsunade for asking this question. Nothing? Previously, she always threw herself on our necks as soon as she saw us, but now what? She named me Jiraiya-san. This is where you've seen this. The perverted hermit flared up. What happened to the child in 4 years? She's afraid of her family. 3 years ago the fox tried to escape. Namikaze finally said. Akira and I pacified him, improved the seal, but after that she became quiet and distant. Did you take her to Yamanaka? Maybe the fox influenced her mind somehow. Maybe the printing failed or something else? Tsunade asked, to which Minato eloquently remained silent. Have you done anything for the child? Have you left everything to chance? Jiraiya asked in surprise. Of course, Minato never treated his daughter well, rather neutrally, but Kushina and Akira always took care of the girl. What kind of biju is going on here then? Why did they abandon Naruto when she needed help? She's a Jinchuriki. She had to become stronger. That's all Minato said. She is the weapon of the village, after all. Naruto should have dealt with this herself, and not wait for help from someone. Are you serious? Tsunade asked hushedly. She is your daughter. You. She is your blood and flesh, Minato. How could you do this to her? How could Kushina do this? She is not the weapon of the village, she is just a Jinchuriki. She needs love and affection, like other people. You also turned your son against your younger sister. What kind of parents are you? I'm your Hokage, don't you dare yell at me. Minato raised his voice. I myself know how to raise Naruto. Is this what you call education? Jiraiya asked in surprise. We're taking her. After the Chunin exam, we take her with us. I cannot allow Naruto to continue to remain in this, so to speak, family. I won't let the Jinchuriki go with you. She will stay in the village. Minato objected. Yes, and I need Tsunade-san at the hospital to train new Irenans. Is this a request or an order? The wife of the Toad Hermit asked, coldly. That's an order. I won't stay here. I won't stay in a village where the Hokage is a monster. Make me a new Knin, deny entry. Anything? But if Naruto suffers the same way, then I won't stay here, Minato. Mark my words. Namikaze looked in surprise at the woman who replaced his mother. For the first time in his life, he saw her so cold and angry, causing goosebumps to run through his skin. Turning his gaze to his teacher, he saw the same burning cold as his wife. And what is this strange feeling in my chest? It's like an aching pain that gets stronger every second. I will let Naruto go with Jiraiya if Tsunade stays here and helps in the hospital. The period for which a Jinchuriki can leave the village is 4 years, no more, otherwise she will be declared a new Knin and will be hunted. I said everything. Yes, Hokage-sama. Tsunade spat and left the office. Jiraiya followed her, but at the last moment he turned around and said. You are not the one I trained back in the day, Minato. Everyone changes, sensei, and I'm no exception. So, this is the Forest of Death, the location of the second stage. You must reach the tower, which is in the middle of the forest. Anko began to spray while Naruto scanned the area for the presence of familiar chakra. Sasuke stood nearby and listened intently to the examiner. Still, it is with this place that he does not have the most rosy memories from that world. It was here that the snake attacked him and put his cursed seal, because of which the Uchiha's life went downhill. How much he did while he was with Orochimaru, how much he killed. But we must give this reptile his due. Thanks to him, he was able to become much stronger and learned many techniques that later saved the mortal carcass of Uchiha Sasuke more than once. Although he trained this very carcass for himself. He is not here. Naruto said very quietly when she finished checking the participants and the area nearby. Sasuke exhaled imperceptibly, because if Orochimaru had been here, they would not have been able to withstand a fight with one of the 3 legendary Sanins. Anko continued to talk about how a participant becomes eligible to participate in the second stage of the exam after each member of his team agrees in writing that they are willing to die to pass the exam. It was really tough, but after that 2 more teams left the exam. Naruto and Sasuke signed the scrolls without hesitation as Sakura hesitated a bit. But seeing the determination of her team, she signed in the required line. After that, each team received scrolls. Naruto looked at the heaven scroll without surprise, and then at gate number 12. Well, everything is repeating itself again. He and Sasuke looked at each other and nodded at each other. Sakura smiled cheerfully, saying that they could handle it. She seemed to be trying to convince herself more than her team members. But okay. Everything will be fine, Databeo. As Naruto counted, 28 teams were participating in the second stage. This is quite a lot, judging by the words of the same Anko. After it, a maximum of 14 teams should remain, excluding unforeseen situations. If a large number of teams go through both previous stages, then qualifying matches are held. This can be expected, because, as Uzumaki realized, the participants are quite strong. Of course, there were some individuals who did not understand how they even got to the exam. Then, after some time, there will be final battles, where the winner of the Chunin exam will be revealed. It is usually attended by rulers from different countries. There they evaluate the skills of shinobi from their countries, noting those who are truly worthy of the title of Chunin. In the end, the Kage's decision would determine whether a genin would rise to a higher rank or not. Team 7 had been running through the Forest of Death for several hours, but they had not yet encountered anyone. All the teams were too far away, so Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura decided to move towards the tower. They should definitely encounter other teams on their way. Uzumaki scanned the area all the time to sense the approach of the enemy. Sakura, when she was enlightened with the information that the Hokage's daughter turns out to be a good sensor, was extremely surprised. Naruto recalled how she found this ability in herself. The local owner of the body very persistently developed the blood of the Uzumaki clan in herself. As is known, representatives of this clan had good endurance, a huge reserve of chakra, the ability to fuinjutsu and sensory, which made their blood literally unique. When Naruto moved into this body, she immediately felt something strange. Kurama later explained that Naruto here had developed sensory abilities very well, which was passed on to her. Uzumaki only had to learn how to use them, and also how to fold them so that the abundance of information did not constantly enter her brain. Gradually, the range of action became wider, and the result was more accurate, but it was still far from perfect. 200 meters north. Naruto said another half-hour later, sensing the approach of the three genin. Kurama said that they exuded obvious fear, which was even better for the team. According to Naruto, their chakra level is no higher than Shikamaru's. One could only hope that they had a scroll of earth. They entered the clearing and began to wait for their opponents. 10 minutes later, a team from Grass Village appeared in front of them, judging by the treads. 2 boys and 1 girl were clearly afraid but stubbornly continued to glare at the 7th team until they finally decided to speak. "Give us the scroll," said some fair-haired boy, coming forward. "Do you even know what kind of scroll we have? Why waste energy if we have the same scrolls?" Sakura reasoned sensibly, putting the genin into a slight stupor. None of them were clearly ready to fight, so she wanted to resolve everything peacefully. "We have a scroll of earth," they said, and Sasuke grinned. "Well, then we're lucky." "The first command and immediately the required scroll," he said. The team from Trava decided not to hesitate. One of the boys launched a fireball at Sasuke, to which he grinned, launching an even larger one at him. The Uchiha's fireball suppressed the boy's ball and flew towards the enemy at great speed. He, to his credit, dodged and used kunai and shuriken, none of which hit the target. Sasuke dodged them, moved at great speed behind the boy's back and knocked him out with a blow to the neck. As luck would have it, he didn't have a scroll. Sakura dealt with the girl very quickly. After imbuing her hand with chakra as Naruto had taught her, she hit it in the stomach and it flew back several meters. Approaching her, Haruno saw that she had already gotten to her feet and was preparing for battle. The girl took out a kunai and flew at Sakura, wanting to fight in taijutsu. The pink-haired girl quickly concluded that this was her strongest side. Once again imbuing her fist with chakra, she slammed the ground, causing cracks to appear. Of course, the blow was less powerful than Naruto demonstrated, but it was enough for a powerful shake. The kunoichi from grass couldn't keep her balance from the powerful push and fell, hitting her head on the ground. She didn't have the scroll either. Naruto fought her opponent using fuinjutsu. The blonde one shot a stream of water at her, which was dried with a fireball, causing a small amount of steam to rise up. Then water bullets flew at her, but were stopped by a fuinjutsu wall. After that, Naruto went at the enemy in order to fight in pure taijutsu, but she didn't even have time to do anything, as the boy began to throw kunai at her. "I had to fight back." In the process of throwing, the boy did not notice how Uzumaki got too close to him. She went behind his back, made several seals with incredible speed and put her hand to his back. The genin fell, blinking his eyes in amazement. "I put the stamp of paralysis," Naruto said quietly, and then made several more seals and placed them on the boy's chest. "And blocked the chakra. You won't be able to fight for the next 2 days." Sasuke and Sakura approached her. The Uchiha took the genin's bag that was lying next to him and took out a scroll of earth. "Thanks for the help." He chuckled and the team from Leaf ran towards the tower. Team 7 had been running for an hour, and the tower was already visible, when they heard some screams and shouts. After exchanging glances, the genin went to look for the source of the sound. After all, they have to sit in the tower for several days, why not stall for time? In one of the clearings near the tower, they saw a team from Sand and 3 shinobi from, judging by the treads, Rain. Naruto and Sasuke chuckled quietly and walked towards the red-haired guy who was holding one of the raincoats in a sandy cocoon. Sakura followed them, and Kurama caught a wave of fear from her. Of course, she hasn't met Gaara yet, and therefore doesn't know his methods of influence. What, he won't give you the scroll? Sasuke asked, approaching the Jinchuriki Shikaku. Temari and Kankuro, who were standing nearby, looked at each other in surprise, but said nothing. No, it's been hanging like this for several minutes. Gaara answered. Naruto grinned while no one saw her and channeled Fox's chakra into her eyes, causing them to turn red with a vertical pupil. The boy, hanging in the air in a cocoon, hiccuped in fear, stopping spinning in the trap. I can kill you. He has it. The suicide bomber nodded his head towards the other guy who was lying on the ground, defeated by Temari. An eloquent silence followed in response. Couldn't you have told me before, idiot? Kankuro exclaimed indignantly. Don't yell, but take the scroll. Gaara shut him up. The eldest of the brothers grumbled something, but took the scroll. The Suna team had Earth, so they needed Sky, which is what their victims ended up with. You can go to the tower. Gaara squeezed the boy harder so that he would pass out, and let go. He fell to the ground like a bag, probably hitting his head. Sakura made a startled sound, impressed by the strange guy. Dogno glanced briefly at the pink-haired one, but said nothing. Sakura, look at them. Sasuke asked her. The girl nodded, starting to examine the victims one by one. In one, whom Temari defeated, she found a rupture of internal organs, which made her feel bad because she could not help in any way. She does not have enough knowledge and ability to do this. Sighing heavily, she moved to the girl lying not far from the first. She had a slight concussion, but nothing serious. It seems Kankuro worked with her. The guy who was hanging in the air was almost unharmed. There were minor bruises, a slight concussion, and that was all. When she told everyone else about this, the Sandstones were very surprised. Their brother didn't kill anyone. Did you get the scrolls? Gaara asked when Sakura finished her examination. She also treated Kankuro and Temari's wounds, for which they nodded to her in gratitude. Yes. Sasuke answered briefly. We walked to the tower. Then let's move out. The red-haired one commanded. Naruto looked first at one, then at the other, and then at both at once. Still, even if not outwardly, these guys were similar. You're surrounded by selfish, cold all the time. These are the only ones you choose as friends. Kurama rumbled in his head. I didn't know you had such a high opinion of yourself, the Jinchuriki answered him cheerfully. The fox growled angrily and snorted, making Naruto laugh internally. Brainless creature. Wool Rug Uzumaki did not remain in debt. Two-legged misunderstanding. What about the Rasengan to the head? What about a tailed bomb in the ass? After these words, Naruto sent her friend far and wide, causing him to bare his teeth. They will still have time to talk. Stuck in the tower for more than 4 days, for sake. And why were they in such a hurry, exactly? Hokage-sama, team number 7 from Konoha, and team from Sand, completed the stage 5 hours after the start without damage or loss. Anko burst into his office. They came at the same time. They did not kill a single participant, but there were several seriously wounded. Teams Grass and Rain fell into their hands. Minato looked at the second stage examiner in surprise. It started just 6 hours ago, and already there are the first winning teams. Well, this exam is definitely getting interesting. He is especially surprised by the weapons of the village. He didn't think that Naruto would even be able to pass the first stage. When they showed him her answer sheet, his jaw almost hit the floor, seriously. It was all written there. All 9 questions were covered, and she didn't give up on the 10th, as he had expected. And if the first stage can be attributed to the fact that she managed to write it off or to luck, then the second definitely cannot. What is Naruto Namikaze, the daughter of the 4th Hokage, the Jinchuriki of the 9-tailed demon fox? Had he overlooked something? Thank you, Anko. Minato nodded to her. You can continue to monitor the exam. If there are no qualifying fights, then his daughter will go straight to the final fights. What to expect from her there? And if there are qualifiers, will she be able to defeat her opponent? At the academy, she was not particularly successful or meritorious. Perhaps her success is largely due to the team, but Kakashi said that Naruto is making great strides in ninjutsu, she has taijutsu, and she also has a good knowledge of theory. This leads to certain thoughts. Half an hour after Anko left, Hatake looked into his office. As a former member of the Umbu and one of the Hokage's confidants, he had a special mission to spy on Danzo. Kakashi reported that nothing suspicious had been found at this time. This means that Shimura is hiding very well, or there is no other either. This old man is definitely up to something, but Minato can't find any proof of his assumptions. Kakashi, your students have completed the second stage, he said after he finished listening to the student's report. Hataki's only visible eye widened, and if not for the mask, his jaw would have kissed the floor. Alive? Kakashi asked. Not even wounded. His sensei chuckled in response. They came to the tower an hour and a half ago, along with a team from Sand. A feeling of pride for his charges appeared in the copy man's chest. He really loved these children. And he was very worried about them when he was informed that they had passed the first stage and were leaving for the Forest of Death. He hoped that they would at least survive, but these teenagers surprised him again. This is very good. These 4 days seemed to drag on forever. Naruto could no longer find something to do to somehow brighten up the anticipation. She had already talked with Kurama, and scanned the area, and communicated with her team, and wandered around the tower, and talked with Gaara. When they finally announced that all the teams were assembled, she breathed a sigh of relief. Sasuke and Sakura too. In the end, everyone is tired of sitting here. They were brought to the already familiar arena, where other participants stood. Some were battered, some were wounded, and some were safe and sound. There were quite a lot of them at first glance, therefore there will be qualifying battles. Team 7, not without surprise, discovered the team from grass from whom they had taken the scroll. They could barely stand on their feet, but they got there. Naruto even admired their tenacity. She completely blocked the chakra of one of them, but here he stands, on his own 2 feet, all dusty and dirty, really. Participants also included every team from Leaf, including this year's edition. Minato was sitting on the balcony, and the Jounin were standing next to them. Naruto saw her sensei nod his head at them in a friendly manner. I thought they wouldn't be able to get through. Sakura also noticed her opponents. Sasuke looked indifferently in that direction, chuckled, but said nothing. It's immediately obvious Uchiha, Databeo. When all the participants stood in one group, the Hokage began to speak. He talked about how important this exam is for relations between villages. He talked about wars, about politics, about the genins themselves. Seriously, this speech was exactly the same as the exam in that world. Naruto even thought that the third Hokage wrote it. Just word for word. When Namikaze finished his fiery speech, Hayate Gecko came out and said that now there will be qualifying battles, since there were too many participants. Several participants refused after the examiner announced that if one team member was injured and could not participate, he could withdraw without harming his team. And again, Naruto was surprised that those grass genin remained. Tenacious guys. Then we begin the first battle, Gecko announced. The first names appeared on the board and Naruto snorted. Well, of course, who else but her should be the first. Everyone except Namikaze Naruto and Matsuri Haido leave the arena. And again she came across that guy from the grass whom she defeated in the forest. No, seriously? You again? Haido hiccuped in fear, remembering how bad he felt after this girl left. For 2 days he could not get up from the ground, much less fight. His chakra channels hurt and his body did not want to move. Have you recovered yet? Naruto asked quietly, but everyone heard her, including the Hokage. I give up. Matsuri said sadly. Gekko could not contain his surprise and asked again. Yes, I have no chance against her. We have already fought in the forest. The examiner had no choice but to nod and award the victory to Namake's Naruto. Minato chuckled thoughtfully on the balcony. This boy refused to fight with his daughter. Apparently, she beat him up badly in the second stage. After the victory, Naruto walked up to her team, where Kakashi-sensei was already standing. He smiled faintly and said he was proud of them and glad they were alive. The next fight was between the guy from Rain and the guy from Konoha, whom Namake saw for the first time in her 2 lives. The battle was quick and uninteresting. The Rain bombarded Konoha with water techniques to such an extent that he did not have time to fight back. The guy from Leaf answered him with a flurry of lightning elemental techniques, but did not take into account the fact that he himself was completely wet, so 5 minutes after the start, both opponents were defeated and lay unconscious. The Leaf Genin shook their heads sadly. What exactly was this? And these are the future shinobi of Konoha? They even began to worry about the safety of the village. The fight between Temari and Tenten, as in that world, was spectacular, but also hasty. The weapon master used all her techniques in an attempt to defeat her opponent, but the Suna Genin only deflected everything with her fan. Even Tenten's new technique didn't help. While flying, she pulled out a huge amount of weapons from 2 scrolls and threw them at her opponent at great speed, but she fought them all off. Then the Genin from Konoha, using threads of chakra, raised the weapon into the air and pointed it at Temari, but was swept away along with it into another corner by a sharp gust of wind. When the opponent was on the floor, Dog No used a cutting gust of wind, which damaged the opponent's skin. Tenten was unable to fight any longer and Temari was declared the winner. When it was Sasuke's turn to fight, he, to his disappointment, got Ino Yamanako. The Uchiha then muffled a curse but went down to the arena. His rival was already there and looking at him with all her eyes. Even when the examiner announced the start of the fight, she continued to stand there, which Sasuke took advantage of. Thanks to the Sharingan with 3 Tomo, Uchiha can now cast a more serious illusion than before, which Itachi taught him with enviable persistence. He put the girl into a Jinjutsu, where Sasuke-kun chose not her, but Sakura. Yamanaka fainted from the surge of emotions, ensuring victory for the Uchiha. He didn't even have to move to do it. The examiner tiredly examined the loser and called the participants in the next battle. I can even guess what you showed her. The Uzumaki said quietly so that only Sasuke could hear her. Her worst nightmare. The Uchiha chuckled in response. When the next participants were called, the whole team shuddered in unison. The screen flashed, Sakura Haruno vs Niji Hyuga. It was unexpected. The girl went down to the arena when the genius of the White-Eyed clan was already standing there. She understood that against such an opponent she did not have the slightest chance of success. Niji would simply smear her against the wall, and then she would lie in the hospital for a long time. I give up. Haruno said loudly. Sasuke and Naruto looked in surprise at the arena where their would-be opponents stood. But their surprise was not due to the fact that their teammate refused, but because of what she said next. I cannot stand against such an opponent in battle. Not now. Hyuga Niji is too strong. Winner, Hyuga Niji. Clearing his throat, Gekko notified everyone. Kakashi nodded in satisfaction. Sakura did not disappoint him, she correctly analyzed the situation and made the right decision. Well done, Sakura. Naruto said sincerely. Sasuke gave her a small half-smile as well. You analyzed your opponent correctly, I praise you. Moreover, for you, as a future Ironin, rank in medicine is important. Kakashi noticed. After these words, Haruno smiled faintly and began to watch the next battle. Subsequent fights did not bring any pleasure. There were 2 draws, and Shikamaru and Shino also reached the finals. The strategist defeated his opponent with a cunning plan and sophisticated tactics, as well as by telling him about the level of chakra and technology, after which the boy from Grass, with whom Sasuke fought, surrendered. Shino fought against Choji. Admittedly, Akimichi fought hard, but the bugs all his chakra out of him. In the literal sense of this phrase. There's nothing even to say about draws. There is only hugging and crying. How could you lose by colliding heads in mid-flight, Kurama? I told you that sometimes I don't understand people's actions. Hinata fought to a draw with some girl from Rain. Both, having spent all their chakra, fell limp carcasses and were taken to the hospital. Kankuro won against the Grass girl, whom he sealed into his doll, and Rock Lee lost to Gaara when he, deciding not to kill his opponent, knocked him out with one of the sand techniques. Honestly, only Sasuke beat him in terms of the speed at which the battle was completed. Dog No finished his fight in 1 minute. And Sasuke finished in 15 seconds. When it was time to draw out the numbers, Naruto even sighed heavily. The same people as in her world reached the finals, which means we shouldn't expect an easy fight. Sasuke glanced at Naruto, who was standing to his right, and pulled out his number. According to the results of the draw, Sasuke will fight against Niji Hyuga, which was a complete surprise. The best student of this class versus the best student of the previous class? Well, this will be interesting. Even more. Temari went to Shikamaru, and Kankuro went to Shino. Everything here was the same as in that world. Therefore, Naruto got Gaara. When the final results were announced, the two Jinchuriki looked at each other and sighed at the same time. Minato was seriously afraid for the safety of the village. Kazekage's son versus Hokage's daughter? Jinchuriki of the One Tails versus Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails? Is it dangerous? The genin have a month to prepare. The month of training began abruptly and unexpectedly for Naruto. The day after the qualifying battles, Jiraiya himself offered to train her, having learned that the girl had made it to the final stage. The perverted hermit found her at home when Naruto had just woken up, finally in a normal bed, because there were only futons in the tower. Thanks to Kurama for treating her back, otherwise she would have collapsed from the discomfort in that area. The great Toad Sannin said that he would be waiting for her tomorrow at the farthest training ground in Konoha, to which Uzumaki nodded and quietly thanked him. But suddenly remembering something, she stopped Jiraiya when he was about to leave the same way he came in, through the window. Jiraiya-san, do you know where Orochimaru-san is? She asked in a quiet voice so as not to arouse suspicion. In the memories of the local Naruto, she did not find a single mention of this Sannin, so she decided to ask directly the person who was on the same team with him. He just returned to Konoha after traveling. And what? The future sensei asked in surprise. After analyzing all the options for how she could present the information, Naruto realized that there would be nothing wrong if she told the truth. It's just that Sasuke also made it to the next stage. I would like someone to train him, since his brother, Itachi-san, is currently on a mission. Naruto said quietly but confidently, causing the Sannin even more surprise. I think I can persuade him to train your teammate. But will Sasuke himself agree? Orochimaru is quite a peculiar person. Jiraiya said hesitantly, and Naruto chuckled. Who, if not the Uchiha, knows all the originality of this snake? I think he will agree. You should have seen the Uchiha's face when Naruto announced that Orochimaru himself would train him. At first, he wanted to launch a fireball at his girlfriend, but then he realized how promising this situation was. If the snake here is not an apostate, then he can calmly teach Sasuke, and the latter will not be afraid that his body may be taken over. And when a demonic smile appeared on the Uchiha's face, Naruto realized that she had done the right thing by asking Jiraiya to talk to her, so to speak, friend. 3 days after this conversation, Uchiha Sasuke was accepted as Orochimaru's student after a small test, and Uzumaki herself, with a calm soul, began training with Jiraiya. Naruto also learned that Tsunade was staying in Konoha indefinitely on the orders of the Hokage. Her student Shizune, who arrived a few days later than the woman herself, was admitted to the hospital by a full-time ironine. And Naruto became enthusiastic about recruiting Tsunade Sakura as her student. And with all her modesty, she asked her beloved godmother to take her teammate as a student. The chief physician of Konoha was at first taken aback, and then agreed, looking at her goddaughter, biting her lip and looking away. Now Sakura is Tsunade's personal student, for which the aforementioned tearfully thanked Naruto. "You are an amazing person, Naruto-chan," Jiraiya told her after a week of training. She placed her teammates as students of the great Sannin. "I didn't think my wife would agree." "Thank you, Jiraiya-sensei." Naruto smiled slightly, practicing his taijutsu. "I want to show you one technique. She's A rank, but I think you can master her." At that moment, a blue spinning sphere appeared in his hand. "This is the Rasengan, a technique invented by your father. He created it over several years." Jiraiya shared the information, and Naruto bit her lip. Being in such close proximity to one of the Sannins, you need to be careful in your words and actions. "Jiraiya-sensei, I already know this technique," she said quietly. "Where? Did Minato really show it?" The Toad Hermit was surprised.